Blood spreads across cracked tile like spilled wine as a woman with a shattered collarbone drags herself toward a locked bathroom door while her husband's fist punches through the wood. Outside, thunder rips the midnight sky apart. Inside, she's counting her last breaths. This is the night everything changes, or the night everything ends. If you want to see how far desperation can push a human being, how far mercy can reach, and whether survival is ever truly possible when the monster knows where you sleep, stay with me until the final word. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The rain came down like punishment. Nora Halstead could taste copper in her mouth, her own blood mixing with the cheap wine Travis had thrown in her face an hour earlier. She pressed her left arm against her ribs, feeling bone grind against bone, feeling her vision blur at the edges. The bathroom floor was cold. The tiles were the color of old teeth. She'd picked them out herself 3 years ago when they first bought the house, back when she still believed picking out tiles mattered. Travis hit the door again. The frame cracked. Splinters fell like confetti. "You think this is funny, Nora?" His voice was calm. That was the worst part. When Travis screamed, she could predict the arc of his rage. When he went quiet like this, spoke in that measured tone like a doctor explaining a terminal diagnosis, she knew the worst was coming. "You think locking a door stops me?" She didn't think anything. Thinking required air, and she couldn't get enough of it into her lungs. Each breath felt like swallowing glass. Her purse sat 3 feet away. Might as well have been 3 miles. She crawled toward it, leaving a smear of red across the tile. Her right arm dangled useless. The shoulder had popped out when he'd thrown her against the sink. She'd heard it go. A wet sound like tearing fabric. Now it just hung there, a dead thing attached to her body. The door shook again. A hinge popped loose. Nora's fingers found the purse strap. She dragged it toward her, dumping the contents. Lipstick, receipts, loose change that scattered across the floor like dropped teeth. And there, wedged behind her wallet, a business card she'd kept hidden for almost 4 years. She'd forgotten about it. No, that was a lie. She'd trained herself not to think about it, trained herself the way you train yourself not to stare at the sun. The card was bent, softened by time and body heat. Black ink on cream stock. Simple. Professional. No logo. Just a name and a number. Dante Cross. She'd served him exactly once at the restaurant downtown where she used to waitress before Travis made her quit. Made her. He'd never said the words directly, but he had ways of making things clear. Ways of making her understand that having her own money, her own schedule, her own anything was a problem that needed solving. Dante had ordered black coffee and nothing else. Sat in the corner booth for 2 hours reading something on his phone. When she'd brought the check, he'd looked at her, really looked at her, and she'd felt something crack open inside her chest. Not attraction, recognition. Like he could see straight through the makeup she'd carefully applied that morning to hide the bruise Travis had given her the night before. He'd left a $100 tip on a $3 coffee and the card beneath it. "You don't know me," he'd said, his voice low enough that nobody else could hear. "But if you ever need help, the kind nobody else can give you, call that number. Day or night, doesn't matter, call." She'd almost thrown it away a dozen times, but some part of her, some animal part deeper than thought, had kept it hidden. Moved it from purse to purse, tucked it behind credit cards and old photos and all the ordinary debris of a life she'd stopped recognizing as her own. Travis hit the door hard enough to crack it down the middle. Nora's hand shook so badly she could barely hold the card. Her phone was still in her jeans pocket. She fumbled for it, fingers slick with blood. The screen was shattered. That had happened earlier when Travis had knocked it out of her hand, but it still worked. Still glowed in the darkness. She dialed. Each number felt like a betrayal, like crossing a line she could never uncross. It rang once. The door splintered inward. Travis's hand came through the gap, groping for the lock. It rang twice. "Yeah." The voice was exactly as she remembered it. Cold, controlled. No greeting, no warmth, just acknowledgement. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out except a wet, rattling sound. "Address." Not a question, a command. Her voice cracked. "I don't—" "Your address, say it." She gave it. The words came out broken, barely coherent. She could hear Travis working the lock now, could hear the metal grinding as he forced it. "Is he in the house with you?" "Yes." "Are you locked in a room?" Bathroom, upstairs. But he's almost through the door. Stay on the line. Don't hang up. I'm coming. The door exploded inward. Travis stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the hallway light. He wasn't a big man, 5'10", maybe 170, but he filled the doorway like a storm front. His knuckles were bleeding. His shirt was untucked. He looked at her the way you'd look at a dog that had soiled the carpet. "Who are you talking to?" he asked quietly. Nora pressed the phone against her chest. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack her ribs from the inside. Travis stepped into the bathroom. Glass crunched under his shoes. He'd broken the mirror earlier, or she had. She couldn't remember anymore. The whole night had turned into a blur of violence so routine it barely registered as exceptional. "I asked you a question, Nora." She didn't answer. Couldn't. He crouched down in front of her, close enough that she could smell the bourbon on his breath. His hand moved almost gently to her face. He brushed her hair back. His fingers came away red. "You're bleeding," he said like he was commenting on the weather. "Travis, who are you talking to?" His hand closed around her throat before she could answer. Not squeezing, just holding. A reminder of how easy it would be, how little effort it would take. The phone was still pressed against her chest. She could feel it vibrating. Someone, Dante, was saying something, but she couldn't hear the words over the sound of her own pulse in her ears. Travis's grip tightened. Not enough to crush, just enough to make breathing hard, just enough to make the bathroom start to go gray at the edges. "You called someone," he said, and now there was something new in his voice. Not anger, curiosity. "You actually called someone. After all this time, after everything I've done to teach you better, you called someone." She tried to shake her head, but his hand held her still. "That's disappointing, Nora. That's really disappointing. I thought we were past this. I thought you understood how things work." The phone slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. Travis looked at it, then back at her. Then he smiled, a terrible, empty smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Let's see who's stupid enough to get involved in our marriage." He picked up the phone. The screen was still lit, still connected. He raised it to his ear. "Hey there," Travis said, his voice easy, friendly, the same voice he used with the guys at the bar. "I don't know who you are, but you should know you just made a very serious mistake." Silence on the other end. "See, Nora here, that's my wife. She's got this problem where she exaggerates things, makes up stories, gets dramatic. She probably told you some wild tale about, put her on the phone." Dante's voice came through clear enough that Nora could hear it from where she lay crumpled against the bathtub. Travis's smile widened. "Can't do that, friend. She's a little indisposed right now. Had a few too many drinks, took a fall. You know how it is." "I know exactly how it is. Put her on the phone or I'm calling the police." "Go ahead. Call them. Tell them my wife got drunk and hurt herself and then called some random guy in the middle of the night. See how that plays out for you." Another pause. Then, "I'll be there in 12 minutes. The line went dead. Travis stared at the phone for a long moment. Then he started laughing, a sound like breaking glass. "He's coming here. Some white knight asshole is actually coming here." He looked down at Nora. "Did you fuck him? Is that what this is? You've been fucking some guy behind my back and now he thinks he's going to save you?" "No, Travis, I swear." "Don't." His hand came up fast. She flinched, but he didn't hit her, just pressed his finger against her lips. "Don't lie to me. Not now. We're past that." He stood up, walked to the sink, washed his hands carefully, methodically, like he was scrubbing in for surgery. The water ran red. "Here's what's going to happen," he said, still facing the mirror. "This guy, whoever he is going to show up. And we're going to have a conversation. A calm, adult conversation about boundaries and marriage and the consequences of sticking your nose where it doesn't belong." He dried his hands on a towel, turned to face her. "And then he's going to leave. And you and me, Nora, we're going to finish what we started tonight." She couldn't feel her legs anymore. The bathroom was too bright and too dark at the same time. Travis walked past her, stepped over her like she was furniture, and headed downstairs. She heard him in the kitchen. Heard a drawer open. Metal sliding against metal. Nora closed her eyes. This was it. This was how it ended. Not with escape, not with rescue, with her bleeding out on a bathroom floor while her husband waited downstairs with a knife to greet the only person who'd ever offered to help her. The minutes crawled past like dying animals. She thought about her mother. Dead 6 years now. Cancer. The funeral had been small. Travis had stood beside her, holding her hand, playing the supportive husband. After they'd lowered the casket, he'd driven her home and told her she'd cried too much, made a scene, embarrassed him in front of his friends. She still had her mother's cookbook, spiral-bound, stained with decades of use, recipes written in fading pencil. It was the only thing of her mother's she'd kept. Headlights swept across the bathroom window. A car door slammed. Nora tried to sit up and failed. Her body had given up. Everything hurt and nothing worked, and she was so tired of being afraid. Footsteps on the front walk. A knock at the door. Calm. Professional. 3 measured strikes. Travis's voice from downstairs. "It's open." The door opened, closed, silence. Then Travis again, his voice carrying up the stairs. "So you're the cavalry." A different voice. The same voice from the phone. "Where is she?" "Upstairs, sleeping it off. Like I told you, she gets dramatic when she drinks. Makes up stories." "I want to see her. And I want you to get the fuck out of my house before I call the cops and tell them some psycho broke in and threatened my wife." More silence. Nora dragged herself to the bathroom door, managed to get her head through the opening. From there, she could see the top of the stairs. Could hear everything. "Here's what I think happened tonight," Dante said. His voice was different now, colder, like metal left in a freezer. "I think you beat your wife badly enough that she thought she was going to die. I think she called me because she had nowhere else to go. And I think you know that if I go up those stairs and see what I think I'm going to see, you're not walking out of this house on your own feet." Travis laughed. "Big talk. You even know who you're fucking with? A coward with a history of assault who runs a dive bar downtown and thinks nobody notices when his wife shows up to the grocery store with a black eye." The laughter stopped. "I've been watching you for a while, Travis, since the day Nora came into that restaurant with a split lip and told the hostess she walked into a door. I've been waiting for her to make the call. And now she has. So here's what happens next. You step aside. I take her out of here. You don't follow. You don't call. You don't show up at her sister's house or her job or anywhere else she might be. You pretend she never existed. And if I don't, then we have a different conversation. The kind that ends with police finding things in your house you didn't know were there. The kind that ends with your liquor license getting pulled. The kind that ends with every woman you've ever hurt coming forward at the same time because someone finally gave them the resources and protection to do it safely." Nora could hear the threat land, could hear the shift in Travis's breathing. "Who the fuck are you?" "Someone who helps people like Nora get away from people like you. Now move." What happened next happened fast. Travis lunged. Nora heard the knife coming out, heard the whistle of air as it cut downward, then a sound like meat hitting pavement. Travis screamed. Footsteps, heavy, fast, pounded up the stairs. Nora tried to move, tried to say something, but her body wouldn't cooperate. The world was tilting sideways. The ceiling was becoming the floor. Someone crouched beside her. Hands, gentle hands, touched her face. "Nora, look at me." She forced her eyes open. The man from the restaurant looked back at her. Older than she remembered, maybe 45. Gray threading through dark hair, eyes like frozen lakes, a small cut on his cheekbone, fresh blood, still flowing. "Can you move?" She tried, failed. "Okay, don't, I've got you." He stood, and then he was lifting her. One arm under her knees, one behind her back. She'd forgotten what it felt like to be held without pain. The shock of it made her gasp. "Breathe," he said. "Just breathe." He carried her down the stairs. Travis was on the living room floor, curled on his side, making wet choking sounds. His right hand was bent at an angle hands shouldn't bend. The knife lay 3 feet away. Dante didn't even look at him. Just carried Nora straight through the living room, through the front door, out into the rain. A black SUV sat in the driveway, engine running. The back door opened. A woman in medical scrubs leaned out. "Jesus Christ," she breathed. Dislocated shoulder, possible broken ribs, facial trauma, signs of strangulation, Dante said, his voice clinical now. "Get her stable. I'll be right behind you." He set Nora carefully in the back seat. The woman, doctor, nurse, Nora couldn't tell, immediately began examining her with quick, efficient movements. Dante started to close the door, then stopped. He looked at Nora. "You did the right thing," he said, calling me. "You did the right thing." Then he was gone, moving back toward the house. Nora tried to stay conscious, tried to see what he was doing, but the pain and the shock and the sheer overwhelming relief of being out of that house, away from Travis, carried somewhere safe by someone who didn't want to hurt her. It all crashed over her at once. The last thing she remembered before the darkness took her was the woman in scrubs saying something about going into shock, and the sound of the rain hammering the roof, and the knowledge, deep and certain and terrifying, that whatever happened next, she could never go back. The SUV pulled away from the house. Behind them, through the rain-streaked window, Nora saw Dante standing in the doorway of her former home, silhouetted against the light. He was on his phone, speaking to someone. His face was empty of expression. Then they turned the corner, and he disappeared. The woman in scrubs wrapped a blanket around Nora's shoulders, started an IV with practiced ease, checked her vitals while murmuring reassurances Nora couldn't quite hear over the ringing in her ears. "Where?" Nora managed. "Where are we going?" The woman looked at her with something like pity. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere he can't find you. That's all you need to know right now." The SUV accelerated. The city lights blurred past. Nora closed her eyes and felt the tears come, not from pain, though there was plenty of that, but from the strange, dizzying vertigo of realizing that the prison she'd lived in for 5 years had a door she'd simply never tried to open. Her mother's cookbook was still in the house. She'd left it on the kitchen counter that morning, planning to make bread. Travis hated when she baked, said it made the house smell like a bakery, said she was wasting time and money, but she'd been planning to do it anyway. A small rebellion. Pathetic, really. Now it was gone. Like everything else. The woman checked her pulse again. "You're going to be okay," she said. "I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you are." Nora wanted to believe her. But 5 years of Travis had taught her that safety was an illusion and trust was a trap, and the only reliable thing in the world was pain. The SUV turned onto a highway. Rain hammered the windshield. In the front seat, the driver, a silent man built like a brick wall, drove with the steady competence of someone who'd done this before. Many times before. Nora's phone buzzed in her pocket. She'd forgotten she still had it. A text from Travis. "You're making a mistake. Come home. We can fix this. I love you." Then another. "You think he cares about you? He doesn't. Nobody cares about you. You're nothing without me." Then another. "I will find you. You know I will. And when I do..." The woman gently took the phone from Nora's shaking hands, powered it down, removed the SIM card and snapped it in half. "He's going to look for me," Nora whispered. "I know. He'll find me." "No," the woman said, and there was steel in her voice. "He won't. Dante doesn't fail. Not at this." Nora wanted to ask who Dante was, what this was, why a stranger would go to such lengths for someone he'd met exactly once 4 years ago. But the questions died in her throat because asking them required believing the answers would matter, and right now she couldn't believe in anything except the pain radiating through her shoulder, and the rain on the windows, and the terrifying possibility that she might actually survive the night. The driver's phone rang. He answered on Bluetooth. "Yeah," Dante's voice filled the car. "She stable?" "Stable enough," the woman said. "Good. Take her to the mountain house. I'll meet you there in 3 hours. I've got cleanup to handle." "What about him?" A pause. "He's alive. Barely. Called himself an ambulance. By the time they arrive, we'll be ghosts." "And legally?" "Already handled. I've got a judge who owes me. Restraining order will be in place by morning. His accounts are frozen. His bar's liquor license is under review. And I've got 4 women ready to file assault charges dating back 7 years. He's done." The woman looked at Nora. "Did you hear that? He can't touch you." "Not anymore." But Nora had stopped listening. Because somewhere between the house and the highway, between the locked bathroom and the back seat of this SUV, between the life she'd been living and whatever came next, she'd realized something that made her chest tighten and her throat close and her eyes burn with tears that had nothing to do with pain. She didn't know who she was without Travis. For 5 years, she'd been his wife, his victim, his property, every thought, every action, every breath calibrated to avoid his anger. She'd erased herself so completely that when she tried to remember who she'd been before him, all she found was smoke. The SUV drove deeper into the night. The city fell away behind them. Mountains rose ahead, black shapes against a blacker sky. Nora pressed her forehead against the cold window and watched her reflection stare back at her. A stranger with a swollen face and empty eyes, and a future she couldn't begin to imagine. The woman touched her hand. Try to rest. You're safe now. But Nora knew better than to believe in safety. Travis had taught her that lesson too well. And somewhere in the back of her mind, beneath the shock and the pain and the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, this was real, a small voice whispered the truth she couldn't ignore. Running only worked if you ran far enough. And she had no idea if anywhere was far enough. The SUV climbed into the mountains. Rain turned to sleet. The road narrowed. The woman gave Nora something, a pill, small and white, and told her it would help with the pain. Nora swallowed it dry. Darkness closed in from all sides. The last thing she heard before unconsciousness took her was the woman's voice, soft and certain. When you wake up, everything will be different. I promise you that. And Nora, trapped between the life she'd escaped and the life she couldn't imagine, let herself believe it. Just for a moment, just long enough to sleep. Nora woke to the smell of pine and antiseptic. The room was unfamiliar. White walls, high ceilings, a window showing mountains dark against a pre-dawn sky. She was in a bed, a real bed, not the lumpy mattress she'd shared with Travis, and someone had changed her clothes. She wore soft cotton pajamas that smelled like lavender detergent. Her shoulders screamed when she tried to move. Don't! The woman from the SUV appeared in the doorway, carrying a tray. You'll tear the stitches. Nora froze. Stitches? 3 in your scalp where you hit the sink, 4 in your hand from the glass. Your shoulder's relocated, but you need to keep it immobilized for at least 2 weeks. The ribs aren't broken, just badly bruised. You got lucky. Lucky. The word tasted like ashes. The woman set the tray on the bedside table. Oatmeal, toast, orange juice, food. Nora's stomach immediately rejected the idea of, I'm Dr. Reese, the woman said. Sarah Reese. I work with Dante. Where am I? Colorado, about 40 miles outside Durango. This is one of Dante's properties. Nobody knows about it except the people who need to. Nora looked at the window. Mountains, trees, nothing else. How many people need to? Dr. Reese smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. More than you'd think. Less than there should be. She checked Nora's vitals with the same efficient movements from the night before. Blood pressure, pulse, pupil response. Her hands were gentle but impersonal, the touch of someone who'd done this too many times to let it mean anything. You're going to hurt for a while, she said. The physical stuff will heal, the rest takes longer. The rest? Dr. Reese didn't answer. Just finished her examination and made notes on a tablet. Footsteps in the hallway. Heavy. Male. Nora's entire body went rigid. It's okay, Dr. Reese said quickly. It's just Dante. But nothing was okay. Nothing would ever be okay again. Nora's heart hammered against her bruised ribs as the footsteps grew closer. Dante appeared in the doorway. He looked different in daylight. Older. Harder, like something carved from stone. The cut on his cheekbone had scabbed over. He wore jeans and a black shirt with the sleeves rolled up. No wedding ring, no jewelry at all except a watch that probably cost more than Nora had earned in her entire life. He looked at her like she was a problem he was trying to solve. How are you feeling? He asked. Nora didn't know how to answer that. How was she supposed to feel? Grateful? Terrified? Both at once? I don't understand, she said instead. Why did you help me? Dante pulled a chair over and sat down. Not close enough to touch her, but close enough that she had to look at him. Because someone should have helped me once, he said, and they didn't. The words hung in the air like smoke. Dr. Reese cleared her throat. I'll give you two some privacy. She left, closing the door behind her. Dante leaned back in the chair. He looked tired. Not sleepy tired. Bone tired. The kind of exhaustion that lives in your marrow. I'm going to tell you some things, he said. And you're going to want to ask questions. Don't. Not yet. Just listen. Nora nodded. 15 years ago I was married. Her name was Claire. We lived in Denver. I worked in private security, bodyguard stuff mostly, corporate protection. Made good money. Thought I had life figured out. He paused. I was wrong. His jaw tightened. Claire had a sister, younger, Emily. She married a guy named Ryan. Nice guy on the surface, coached Little League, went to barbecues. Everybody loved him. But Emily would show up to family dinners with bruises, broken fingers. Once, a concussion she said came from slipping on ice. Nora's stomach turned. Claire begged me to do something. I told her it wasn't our business, that Emily was an adult, that if she wanted help, she'd ask for it. His voice went flat. 3 months later, Ryan beat Emily to death in their garage and hung himself in the living room. Their 6-year-old daughter found them both. The silence that followed was suffocating. I could have stopped it, Dante said. I had the resources, the connections, the ability. I just didn't think it was my problem. He met Nora's eyes. I was wrong, and Claire never forgave me. We divorced 2 years later. I haven't seen her since. I'm sorry, Nora whispered. Don't be sorry. Learn from it. Emily died because people like me stood by and did nothing. So now I do something. I find women who are trapped the way she was. I get them out. I make sure the men who hurt them can't follow. How many? 73. You're 74. The number hit Nora like a fist. 74 women. 74 lives shattered and rebuilt. 74 versions of the bathroom floor she'd crawled across 12 hours ago. What happened to Travis? She asked. Broken hand, dislocated jaw, 3 cracked ribs. He'll recover. Dante's expression didn't change. He told the paramedics he was mugged, didn't mention you at all. Probably figured admitting his wife called someone to rescue her would raise questions he can't answer. He's going to come after me. He's going to try. He'll fail. You don't know him. I know exactly who he is. I've dealt with 100 men just like him. They're all the same under the skin. Cowards who mistake cruelty for strength. He's dangerous to you because you're vulnerable. But you're not vulnerable anymore. Nora wanted to believe him, but 5 years of Travis had taught her that danger didn't end just because you ran. What happens now? She asked. Dante stood. Now you heal. Dr. Reese will check on you twice a day. There's a therapist, Dr. Lynn, who'll be here this afternoon. You'll talk to her whether you want to or not. This place is secure. 2 guards on rotation. No one gets in without clearance. You stay here as long as you need. And then? Then you decide what kind of life you want to build. He started for the door. Dante. He stopped. Why didn't you just kill him? The question came out before Nora could stop it, but once it was out there, she realized she meant it. Why hadn't he? Why leave Travis alive to keep hunting her? Dante turned slowly. Because killing him would make you a widow. Widows get investigated. Police ask questions. Travis has friends, drinking buddies, guys from the bar. They'd rally around his memory, turn him into a martyr, and you'd spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder wondering if one of them decided to get revenge. But if he's alive, he's a cautionary tale. Every move he makes is documented, every threat logged. The restraining order is ironclad. He violates it once, he goes to prison. And by the time he gets out, you'll be someone he can't recognize, someone he can't touch. He walked out, leaving Nora alone with her thoughts and her pain and the terrifying realization that she'd traded one kind of cage for another. The morning crept forward. Dr. Reese brought pills that made the pain bearable and the world soft around the edges. Nora slept, woke, slept again. Each time she opened her eyes, she half expected to see Travis standing over her, but the room stayed empty except for the machines monitoring her vitals and the mountains beyond the window that never moved. Afternoon light slanted through the blinds when Dr. Lynn arrived. She was small, Asian, maybe 50. She wore glasses and carried a leather notebook that looked 100 years old. I'm Dr. Lynn, she said, settling into the chair Dante had vacated. I'm a trauma psychologist. I specialize in domestic violence recovery. Nora said nothing. You don't have to talk to me, Dr. Lynn continued, but I'm going to be here 3 times a week, whether you do or not, so you might as well get something out of it. I don't need therapy. Everyone who says that needs therapy. Despite herself, Nora almost smiled. Dr. Lynn opened her notebook. Let's start simple. Tell me about your mother. The question blindsided her. What? Your mother. Dr. Reese said you were clutching a cookbook when Dante brought you in. Sarah Reese. The name was written inside the front cover. Was that your mother's? Nora's throat closed. I left it. In the house. It's gone. No, Dr. Lynn said gently. It's not. She produced the cookbook from her bag. Spiral-bound, stained, exactly as Nora remembered it. Nora's hands shook as she took it. How? Dante went back for it this morning, picked the lock, in and out in 90 seconds. Tears came before Nora could stop them. She pressed the cookbook against her chest the way she'd pressed it against her chest the night before, the way she'd held it at her mother's funeral, the way she'd held it every time Travis made her feel like she was disappearing. Your mother, Dr. Lynn said. Tell me about her. And Nora, broken and hurting and so tired of carrying everything alone, did. She talked for an hour about her mother's laugh, about Sunday dinners, about learning to bake bread at age 7, standing on a step stool to reach the counter, about the cancer diagnosis, the treatments that didn't work, the final weeks in hospice when her mother had held her hand and told her to be brave. She would have hated Travis, Nora said. Did you know that when you married him? The question landed like a blade. Nora stopped. I don't know. Maybe. Why did you marry him? Because he asked, because I was lonely, because he seemed safe at first. And when did he stop being safe? Nora thought back. The wedding had been small, city hall, no guests. Travis had said they didn't need a big production, that it was about them, not everyone else. She'd thought it was romantic. The first time he hit her was 6 months later. She'd burned dinner. He'd slapped her hard enough to make her ears ring. Then he'd apologized, cried, sworn it would never happen again. It happened again 2 weeks later. There wasn't a moment, Nora said slowly. It was like drowning. You don't notice until the water's over your head. Dr. Lynn nodded like she'd heard it before. Probably had. Do you blame yourself? Yes. Why? Because I stayed. Because I didn't leave sooner. Because I let him Her voice cracked. Because I let him turn me into this. Into what? Nothing. Nobody. A ghost living in someone else's house. Dr. Lynn wrote something in her notebook. You called Dante. That's not nothing. That's survival. I called him because I was dying. You called him because you wanted to live. There's a difference. Nora looked away. The mountains were turning gold in the late afternoon sun, beautiful and indifferent. I don't know who I am without him, she whispered. Then we'll figure it out together. Dr. Lynn stayed another hour. They talked about nothing and everything. About sleep patterns and nightmares and triggers. About the sound of footsteps making Nora's heart race. About how she couldn't eat without feeling sick. About how every shadow looked like Travis. When Dr. Lynn finally left, Nora felt hollowed out. Scraped clean. The kind of emptiness that comes after crying so hard you forget how to stop. She slept through dinner. Woke at midnight to voices downstairs. Dante's voice. Low and controlled. And another voice. Male, aggressive, demanding. Nora sat up too fast. Pain lanced through her shoulder. She stumbled to the door, pressed her ear against it. Don't care about your protocols, the other man was saying. I need to see her. No. She's my sister, for Christ's sake. Sister. Nora's heart stopped. Marcus. She hadn't seen her older brother in 3 years. Travis had made sure of that. Every time Marcus called, Travis would stand over her while she made excuses. Too busy. Not feeling well. Maybe next month. Eventually Marcus had stopped calling, and now he was here. Nora opened the door. The hallway was dark. Voices drifted up from the first floor. She doesn't want to see you, Dante said. You don't speak for her. Actually, I do, until she tells me otherwise. Who the hell do you think you are? The person who answered when she needed help. Where were you? Silence. Then, I didn't know. She never told me. She shouldn't have had to tell you. You're her brother. You should have seen it. Nora started down the stairs. Each step hurt. Each breath hurt. Everything hurt. The two men stood in the foyer. Dante had his arms crossed. Marcus looked older than she remembered. Heavier, grayer, worn down by life in ways that made her chest ache. Nora. Marcus saw her first. His face crumpled. Jesus Christ. She must have looked worse than she felt. The bruises had turned spectacular colors, purple and yellow and green. Her arm was in a sling. She moved like an old woman. Marcus started toward her. Dante stepped between them. "Let him through," Nora said quietly. Dante didn't move. "Are you sure?" No, she wasn't sure of anything. But Marcus was her brother. The same brother who'd taught her to ride a bike, who'd walked her down the aisle at City Hall when their mother was too sick to attend. "Let him through." Dante stepped aside. Marcus closed the distance and pulled her into a hug that made her ribs scream. She didn't tell him to stop, just let him hold her while he sobbed into her hair. "I'm sorry," he kept saying. "God, Nora, I'm so sorry." When he finally let go, his face was wet. "I should have known," he said. "I should have done something." "You couldn't have known." "Bullshit. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't want to deal with it. Didn't want to get involved. Told myself you were an adult, you'd ask for help if you needed it." He looked at Dante. "Sound familiar?" Dante's expression didn't change. Marcus turned back to Nora. "When I heard what happened, when Travis called me this morning and told me some lunatic attacked him and you'd run off, I knew. I fucking knew. And I drove straight here." "How did you find me?" "I didn't. I went to Travis's place. He was high on pain meds, ranting about how you'd betrayed him. I put it together from there. Called every contact I had until someone gave me Dante's name. Then I called him, and he told me to meet him here." Nora looked at Dante. "You called him?" "You're going to need family," Dante said. "Good family." He seemed like the type who might qualify. Marcus let out a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. "I don't qualify for shit, but I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere." They sat in the kitchen. Dante made coffee. Marcus couldn't stop staring at Nora's bruises. "Tell me what happened," he said. So she did. Not everything. She couldn't handle everything, but enough. Enough that Marcus understood, enough that he looked like he wanted to drive back to the city and finish what Dante had started. "I'll kill him," Marcus said when she finished. "I swear to God I'll kill him." "No," Dante said from across the room. "You won't. Watch me." "I'm serious. You go near him, you end up in prison. That helps nobody." "I'm supposed to just let him walk around after what he did?" "He's not walking around. He's trapped. Every move monitored, every threat documented. He steps out of line, he goes away for years. Patience is the play here, not revenge." Marcus's jaw worked. "I want to do something." "Then be here for your sister. That's what she needs." Marcus looked at Nora. "Is that true? Is that what you need?" Nora didn't know what she needed. Food, sleep, a time machine to go back and never meet Travis in the first place. But Marcus was here. That had to mean something. "Stay," she said, "for a few days. If you can." "I can. I will." Dante handed them both coffee. "Guest room's at the end of the hall upstairs, second door on the left. You're welcome to it." "Thank you," Marcus said. The words sounded strange coming from him. Marcus didn't thank people easily, didn't trust easily, but something about Dante had gotten through his defenses. They drank coffee in silence. Outside, wind moved through the pines. An owl called from somewhere close by. "What's the plan?" Marcus asked finally. "There is no plan," Dante said. "Nora heals, gets therapy, figures out what comes next. Could take months. Could take years." "And Travis?" "Travis self-destructs. We just have to wait for it." Marcus didn't look satisfied, but he didn't argue. The days blurred together. Nora slept, went to therapy, slept again. Marcus stayed close, overprotective, hovering, clearly terrified she'd disappear if he looked away. Dr. Reese changed bandages and monitored healing. Dr. Lin asked questions that made Nora want to throw things. "Anger is healthy," Dr. Lin said when Nora admitted she fantasized about burning Travis's bar to the ground. "As long as you don't act on it." "What if I want to act on it?" "Then you sit with that feeling until it passes. And it will pass." But it didn't pass. The anger grew, metastasized, spread through her like infection. She'd given Travis 5 years. 5 years of her life erased. 5 years of smiling through pain and apologizing for existing and turning herself into whatever shape he demanded. And for what? So he could beat her half to death in a bathroom and walk away with a slap on the wrist? It wasn't fair. It wasn't justice, it was survival. But survival felt like losing. 2 weeks after arriving at the mountain house, Nora sat in the living room with her mother's cookbook open on her lap. She'd been trying to bake bread, something normal, something that connected her to who she'd been before Travis, but she couldn't focus. The recipe blurred, her hands shook. Dante found her there at dusk. "You okay?" he asked. "No." He sat down across from her. "Want to talk about it?" "I want to hurt him." The words came out flat, emotionless. "I want him to feel what I felt. I want him to know what it's like to be afraid every second of every day." "I know." "Do you?" "Because from where I'm sitting, he gets to walk away. Broken hand, big deal. He'll heal. And then what? He finds someone else? Does this all over again?" "He won't." "How do you know?" "Because I'm watching him. Every phone call, every email, every person he talks to. The second he steps out of line, I bury him." "That's not enough. It has to be." "Why?" Nora looked at him, really looked at him. "You said you help women escape, but what's the point if the men who hurt them just keep hurting other people?" Dante's expression didn't change. "What are you asking me to do?" "I don't know. Something. Anything. Make him pay. He is paying. His bar's under investigation. His reputation's destroyed. 4 women have come forward with assault allegations. He's looking at felony charges and years in prison. And if he gets a good lawyer, if he cuts a deal, then he gets out eventually, and we make sure he knows what happens if he violates his restraining order." Nora closed the cookbook. "I hate this. I hate feeling powerless." "You're not powerless. You survived. That's power." "It doesn't feel like power. It feels like running away." Dante leaned forward. "Listen to me. You want revenge? Fine. I get it. But revenge doesn't heal you. It doesn't give you back the years he took. All it does is drag you down to his level. And you're better than that." "How do you know?" "Because you called for help instead of picking up the knife." The words hit harder than she expected. She thought about the knife. That night on the bathroom floor. If she'd been faster, stronger, less broken, she could have grabbed it, could have used it, could have ended everything right there. But she hadn't. She'd called Dante instead. "I don't feel better," she whispered. "You won't. Not for a while. But one day you'll wake up and realize you didn't think about him first thing. Then it'll be 2 days, then a week, then a month. And eventually he'll be background noise. A bad memory instead of a current threat. And if I don't get there?" "You will. I've seen it 73 times before." Nora wanted to believe him, but belief required hope. And hope felt dangerous. That night, Marcus knocked on her door. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Never can." He sat on the edge of her bed the way he used to when they were kids, and she'd had nightmares about monsters under the bed. "I talked to Travis," he said. Nora went cold. "What?" "Don't freak out. He called me. Wanted to know where you were. I told him to fuck off and hung up. But before I did, I heard something in his voice. Fear. Real fear. Whatever Dante did to him, it worked. He's scared." "Good." "He asked about you. If you were okay, if you were coming back." "I'm never going back." "I know." But hearing him ask, Marcus shook his head. "Part of me felt sorry for him. Isn't that fucked up? After everything he did, part of me still felt sorry for him." "That's because you're human." "I don't want to be human. I want to be the guy who protects his sister." "You're here now. That's enough." Marcus didn't look convinced. "I should have been there before. Should have seen it. Should have done something." "Stop. You didn't know. I didn't let you know." "Why not?" "Because Travis made it clear that if I told anyone, he'd make it worse. And I believed him. I still believe him." They sat in silence. Outside, coyotes yipped in the distance. "What are you going to do?" Marcus asked finally. "I don't know. Dante says I need to heal first. Figure out who I am without Travis. But I don't know how to do that. It's been so long since I was anyone else." "Then we'll figure it out together." "You have a life, Marcus, a job. You can't just stay here forever. Watch me." But 3 days later, Marcus got a call. Emergency at work. A project collapsing. Clients threatening to pull contracts. He needed to go back. "I'll come back," he promised. "Next weekend. Or sooner if you need me." "I'm fine." "You're not fine, but you will be." He hugged her carefully, mindful of her shoulder, and left. Nora watched his car disappear down the mountain road and felt the loneliness settle over her like a burial shroud. She was alone now, alone with Dante and Dr. Reese and Dr. Lynn and guards she never saw but knew were there. Alone with her thoughts and her pain and the growing certainty that no amount of therapy or time or distance would ever make her whole again. That night she found Dante in his office, a Spartan room with a desk, a laptop, and nothing else. "I want to help," she said. He looked up from his screen. "Help with what?" "Whatever you do. Helping women escape. I want to be part of it." "You're not ready." "How do you know?" "Because 3 weeks ago you could barely stand. Because you're still having nightmares. Because jumping into someone else's trauma before you've processed your own is a recipe for disaster." "I don't care. I need to do something. I need to feel useful." Dante studied her. "This isn't about helping other people. This is about avoiding your own recovery." "So what if it is? Maybe that's how I recover, by turning this into something that matters." "It already matters. You matter." "I don't feel like I matter." "That's the depression talking. Don't psychoanalyze me. I get enough of that from Dr. Lynn." Dante closed his laptop. "What do you want from me, Nora?" "I want you to let me be useful. I want to answer the phone when someone calls. I want to be the person who says, 'Yes, I'll help you.' I want to be what you were for me." "You're not ready." "I'll never be ready. Not the way you mean, but I can still help." He was quiet for a long time. Then, "There's a woman, Teresa Blake. She's in a situation similar to yours. Husband beats her. She's got a 2-year-old daughter. I've been trying to get her out for months, but she keeps backing down at the last second." "Why?" "Because her husband threatened to take the daughter if she leaves. Told her he'll claim she's unfit, that she'll never see the kid again. It's a common tactic." "Can he do that?" "Not legally, but she doesn't know that, and he's counting on her ignorance to keep her trapped." "Let me talk to her." "No." "Why not?" "Because you're projecting. You see yourself in her and you think saving her will save you retroactively. It doesn't work that way." "I don't care how it works. I just want to help." Dante stood, walked to the window, stared out at the darkness. "If I let you do this," he said slowly, "you follow my rules. You don't make contact without my approval. You don't make promises you can't keep. And if it gets too heavy, if it triggers something you can't handle, you step back. Agreed?" "Agreed." "I'm serious, Nora. This work breaks people, even strong people, especially people who've been where you've been." "I understand." He turned to face her. "Do you?" "Because once you start down this road, you don't get to unsee what you'll see. You don't get to unhear the stories. It stays with you forever." "It's already staying with me forever. At least this way it means something." Dante looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Okay, tomorrow. We'll reach out to Teresa together, but we do it my way." "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. You might end up hating me for this." That night, Nora lay in bed and stared at the ceiling and felt something shift inside her. Not healing, not peace, but purpose. She'd spent 5 years as Travis's victim. Maybe it was time to be something else. The next morning, Dante drove her into town, a small mountain community an hour from the house. They parked outside a library. Inside, a young woman sat in the back row of Children's Story Hour with a toddler sleeping in her arms. Teresa Blake. Even from across the room, Nora could see the bruise under her eye. Could see the way she held herself, shoulders hunched, head down, trying to disappear. Nora knew that posture, had lived in it for years. Story hour ended, families filed out. Teresa stayed seated, like moving required more energy than she had. Nora crossed the room, sat down 2 seats away, not close enough to threaten, close enough to be seen. "She's beautiful," Nora said, nodding at the sleeping child. Teresa looked up, smiled automatically, the kind of smile that costs nothing and means less. "Thank you." "How old?" 2.5. "That's a good age." Silence. Teresa started to gather her things, a diaper bag, a worn purse, a children's book with torn pages. "I had a husband who hurt me," Nora said quietly. Teresa froze. "For 5 years. He broke bones, gave me concussions, told me I'd never survive without him. I believed him." Nora pulled a business card from her pocket. Dante's card. the same one she'd carried for years. Then one night, I called a number someone gave me, and everything changed. She set the card on the seat between them. Teresa stared at it like it might bite. "I don't know what you're going through," Nora continued, "but if it's anything like what I went through, you're tired, you're scared, you think there's no way out. You think if you leave, it'll get worse. You think he'll find you. You think you deserve it." Teresa's eyes filled with tears. "You don't deserve it. Nobody does. And there is a way out. But you have to take the first step. You have to make the call." She stood, started to walk away. "Wait." Nora turned. Teresa was holding the card. Her hand shook. "Does it get better?" Nora thought about the nightmares, the panic attacks, the way she still flinched at loud noises, the therapy sessions that left her hollowed out. The morning she woke up and forgot where she was and thought she was back in that house with Travis. "I don't know yet," she said honestly, "but it gets different, and different is a start." She walked back to where Dante waited by the door. They left the library together. "You did good," he said when they reached the car. "I don't know if she'll call." "She will. Maybe not today. Maybe not this week. But she will." "How do you know?" "Because you gave her something nobody else has. Permission to hope." They drove back to the mountain house in silence. Nora watched the trees blur past and wondered if she'd just made things better or worse. If Teresa called and left her husband and he retaliated, would that be Nora's fault? Would she have to carry that weight too? 3 days later, at 4 a.m, Dante's phone rang. Nora was in the kitchen making tea when he answered it downstairs. "This is Dante." A pause. "Yes. She gave you this number. Where are you now?" Nora set down her mug, crept to the stairs. "Okay, stay there. Lock the doors. I'm sending someone." He hung up, looked up at Nora standing on the landing. "It's Teresa," he said. "She's at a truck stop 2 hours south. She left him. She's got her daughter and nothing else. She needs help." "I'll go," Nora said immediately. "No." "Yes. She called because of me, because I told her there was a way out. I need to be the one who brings her in. You're not trained for this. Neither was I when you came for me." Dante's jaw tightened. "It's dangerous. If her husband figures out where she is, then we get her out before he does. Come on, Dante. You said I could help. Let me help." He looked at her for a long moment, then he nodded. "Fine, but I'm driving, and if anything goes wrong, you do exactly what I say. No questions, no arguments." "Deal." They left 20 minutes later. The sun was just starting to gray the eastern sky. Dante drove fast, taking mountain roads like he'd memorized every curve. Nora sat in the passenger seat and felt her heart hammer against her ribs. This was real. This was happening. She was actually doing this. They reached the truck stop as dawn broke fully. A handful of big rigs sat in the parking lot. A few cars. And there, a beat-up Honda with a woman inside, holding a sleeping child. Teresa. Nora got out of the car, walked slowly toward the Honda, tapped on the window. Teresa jumped, then recognized her, unlocked the door. "You came," she whispered. "I told you I would." Teresa was shaking. Her left eye was swollen shut, blood crusted under her nose. The toddler in her arms looked unhurt but terrified. "He knows I'm gone," Teresa said. "I left a note. I couldn't just disappear. I couldn't—" "It's okay. You did the right thing. Come on. We need to go." Teresa hesitated. "Where?" "Somewhere safe. I promise." "What about my stuff, my clothes, her toys?" "We'll get you new stuff. Right now we just need to move." Teresa looked back at the truck stop, then at her daughter, then at Nora. "Okay." They transferred to Dante's SUV. Teresa buckled her daughter into a car seat Dante had somehow anticipated they'd need. Then she climbed into the back and started crying, deep, shaking sobs that sounded like they'd been locked inside her for years. Nora reached back and took her hand. "You're safe now," she said. And for the first time since Travis had broken through that bathroom door, Nora believed it might actually be true. They drove back to the mountain house. Teresa fell asleep halfway there, her daughter curled against her. Nora watched them in the rearview mirror and felt something sharp and painful lodged behind her sternum. This was what Dante had been doing for 15 years, this exact thing, driving through the dark to collect broken women and bring them somewhere safe. How did he do it? How did he carry the weight of 74 lives without collapsing under it? You're thinking too loud, Dante said without looking at her. How do you do this? Nora asked. Over and over. How do you not burn out? Who says I don't? He didn't elaborate. They reached the house. Dr. Reese was waiting. Dante must have called ahead. She examined Teresa and her daughter with the same gentle efficiency she'd used on Nora. Minor injuries, exhaustion, malnutrition, nothing life-threatening. Teresa was given a room down the hall from Nora's. Her daughter got a toddler bed, clothes, toys. Everything appeared as if by magic, which probably meant Dante kept a stockpile of supplies for exactly this purpose. That evening, after Teresa and her daughter were settled, Nora found Dante on the back porch watching the sun set over the mountains. Thank you, she said, for letting me help. Thank yourself. You're the one who made the approach. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have. You just didn't know it yet. They stood in comfortable silence. The air smelled like pine and approaching rain. She's going to need therapy, Nora said. A lawyer. A safe place to stay long term. I know. Already working on it. How many others are there? Like Teresa? Like me? Right now? 6 women in various stages of escape. Some are in safe houses, some are still gathering courage, some are waiting for the right moment. And you coordinate all of it? I have help, a network. People who believe in the work. How do you fund it? Money I made before I started doing this. Investments. Some donors who prefer to stay anonymous. Nora looked at him. Who are you really? Someone who failed once and refuses to fail again. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Fair enough. That night, Nora lay in bed and listened to Teresa crying through the wall. Soft, muffled sounds that probably meant she was trying not to wake her daughter. Nora got up, knocked softly on Teresa's door. Come in. Teresa was sitting by the window, her daughter asleep in the bed behind her. Her face looked worse in the lamplight, swollen, bruised, marked by years of violence that Nora recognized like looking in a mirror. Couldn't sleep either? Teresa asked. Never can. Nora sat down on the floor. Teresa joined her. Is it always this hard? Teresa asked. Leaving? I've only been gone 3 weeks, but yeah, it's hard. Do you regret it? Nora thought about that, about the nightmares and the panic attacks, and the constant fear that Travis would find her, about the therapy sessions that peeled her open and left her bleeding, about the days she could barely get out of bed. No, she said finally. I don't regret it. I regret that it took me so long, but I don't regret leaving. He's going to come after me? Probably. Aren't you supposed to tell me he won't, that I'm safe? I could, but you'd know I was lying, and you've heard enough lies. Teresa let out a sound that might have been a laugh. Fair. He'll try to find you, but Dante's good at hiding people. And even if your husband does find you eventually, you'll be ready. You'll have resources, legal protection, people in your corner. People like you? If you want. Teresa was quiet for a moment, then, why are you doing this? Helping me. Because someone helped me, and before that nobody helped someone he loved, and she died because of it. So now we help. That's how it works. It shouldn't have to work that way. No, it shouldn't. But it does. They sat together until Teresa's daughter stirred in her sleep. Then Nora stood. Try to rest, she said. Tomorrow's going to be hard. Harder than today? Different. But you'll get through it. How do you know? Because you already survived the worst part. Everything after this is just cleanup. Back in her room, Nora tried to sleep and failed. Her mind wouldn't settle, kept circling back to Teresa, to the look in her eyes. The same look Nora had seen in her own mirror for 5 years. She thought about Travis, about whether he was sleeping right now or hunting, about whether he knew where she was or was still fumbling in the dark. She thought about Dante, about what kind of man built a network to save strangers, about what kind of guilt burned hot enough to fuel 15 years of rescuing people. She thought about her mother, about the cookbook still sitting on her nightstand, about all the recipes she'd never learned to make because Travis had stolen her time. And somewhere between thinking and dreaming, a decision crystallized. She was never going back to who she was before Travis. That woman was gone, erased, dead and buried in a bathroom in a house she'd never see again. But maybe she could become someone new, someone stronger, Someone who answered phones at 4 in the morning and drove through the dark to collect broken women. Someone who turned pain into purpose. It wouldn't heal her. Dante was right about that. But it might make the pain mean something, and meaning felt like enough. For now, morning came gray and cold. Nora woke to the sound of Teresa's daughter laughing somewhere downstairs. The sound was so unexpected, so purely joyful, that it stopped Nora mid-breath. When was the last time she'd heard a child laugh like that? When was the last time she'd laughed like that? She couldn't remember. Downstairs, Teresa was in the kitchen with Dr. Reese. Her daughter sat in a high chair, covered in oatmeal, grinning like nothing bad had ever happened to her. "Morning," Teresa said. Her voice was hoarse, probably from crying. "Morning. How'd you sleep?" "Like shit. But I'm here. That's something." Dr. Reese handed Nora coffee. "Dante's on the phone with Teresa's lawyer. Restraining orders should be in place by end of day." "That fast?" "Dante has friends in useful places." They ate breakfast together. Nora, Teresa, Dr. Reese, and the toddler, who didn't understand why everyone looked so sad. It felt almost normal, almost like family. Then Dante walked in and the normalcy shattered. "We have a problem," he said. Everyone looked at him. Teresa's husband filed a missing persons report, claimed she kidnapped their daughter and fled with a dangerous cult. Teresa went pale. "He what?" "It's a tactic, trying to force you out of hiding by making you look like the criminal. But it's also bait. He knows if you surface to defend yourself, he can find you." "So what do I do?" "Nothing. My lawyer handles it. You stay here, stay hidden, let him flail." "But if people think I kidnapped my own daughter?" "Let them think it. Truth comes out in court. Right now your job is to stay alive and safe. Everything else is secondary." Teresa looked at her daughter, at Nora, at the walls of the house that were protecting her. "Okay," she said finally. "Okay." But Nora could see the fear in her eyes, could see her imagining worst-case scenarios where the law sided with her husband, where she lost her daughter, where everything she'd risked by leaving turned into her greatest nightmare. Nora knew that fear, lived in it. "He's lying," Nora said. "And lies collapse under scrutiny. You just have to trust the process." Teresa didn't look convinced, neither did Nora. Because they both knew the truth. Sometimes the process failed. Sometimes the law sided with the wrong person. Sometimes women died waiting for justice. But what else could they do except wait and hope and pray that this time, just this once, the system worked the way it was supposed to? The answer was nothing. They could do nothing except survive another day. And for women like them, survival was the only victory that mattered. The restraining order came through at 3 in the afternoon. Dr. Reese printed it out and handed it to Teresa like it was a shield made of paper and ink. "This protects you," she said. "Legally. If he comes within 500 feet, he goes to jail." Teresa stared at the document. 500 feet isn't very far." "It's far enough." But Nora could see Teresa didn't believe it. Neither did Nora. 500 feet was nothing. A couple of city blocks, the length of a grocery store parking lot. Travis could close that distance in seconds if he wanted to. So could Teresa's husband. Paper didn't stop fists. Dante was in his office when Nora found him. He had 3 monitors running, each showing different security camera feeds. The mountain house, the road leading up to it, the perimeter. "You're watching for him," Nora said. "I'm always watching." "Has he tried to find me?" Dante didn't answer immediately. That was answer enough. "He's been asking around," Dante said finally, "calling your old co-workers, your sister, Marcus, telling everyone you had a breakdown, that you're not safe on your own, that he's worried about you." Playing the concerned husband. It's a good play. People want to believe it. Easier than accepting they ignored abuse happening right in front of them. Nora's chest tightened. "Has anyone told him where I am?" "No, but he's persistent. And persistent men eventually get lucky." "So what do we do?" "We wait. We stay vigilant. And if he shows up, we handle it." "Handle it how?" Dante looked at her. "However we need to." The words hung in the air like a threat. That night, Nora couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Travis out there in the dark, asking questions, following leads, getting closer. She kept thinking about what would happen if he found her, if he broke through Dante's security. If he made it to her room, would she fight? Or would she freeze the way she'd frozen 1,000 times before? She didn't know. And that terrified her more than anything. At 2 in the morning, her phone buzzed. Not her old phone, Dante had destroyed that, but a new one he'd given her. Secure, encrypted, untraceable. A text from an unknown number. I know where you are. Nora's blood turned to ice. Another text. You can't hide forever. Her hand shook so badly she almost dropped the phone. Another text. I'm coming for you. And when I find you, you'll wish you'd never left. She stumbled out of bed, down the hall, found Dante already awake in his office, staring at his monitors. He found me, she said, holding out the phone. Dante took it, read the messages. His expression didn't change. It's a bluff, he said. How do you know? Because if he knew where you were, he wouldn't waste time texting you. He'd already be here. Then how did he get this number? Good question. Dante typed something on his keyboard. Lines of code scrolled across one of the monitors. Then he stopped, stared. What? Nora asked. The text didn't come from Travis. Then who? It came from inside the house. The words didn't make sense at first. Then they did. And when they did, Nora felt the floor drop out from under her. What are you saying? Dante stood. His hand moved to something under his desk. A gun, Nora realized with a jolt. I'm saying someone in this house sent you those texts. Someone who wants you scared. Someone who's working with Travis. That's impossible. There's only you, Dr. Reese, Dr. Lynn, the guards, and Teresa. The name hit Nora like a fist. No, that's insane. Teresa's a victim. She came here for help. Did she? Or did her husband send her here to find you? You're wrong. You have to be wrong. But Dante was already moving, out of the office, down the hall, toward Teresa's room. Nora followed, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. Dante didn't knock, just opened the door. The room was empty. The bed hadn't been slept in. Teresa's daughter's toddler bed was empty too. Where is she? Nora whispered. Dante checked his monitors on his phone, rewound the security footage, found the timestamp he was looking for. The screen showed Teresa leaving the house at midnight, carrying her daughter, getting into a car that was waiting at the end of the driveway, a car Nora recognized. Travis's car. The world tilted sideways. No, Nora breathed. No. She played you, Dante said, his voice cold. Played all of us. The bruises were real. The fear was real. But she wasn't running from her husband. She was working with yours. Why? Why would she do that? Money? Leverage? Maybe Travis threatened her husband. Maybe he paid her. Doesn't matter. What matters is she knows where you are. And now Travis knows. As if on cue, headlights swept across the window. Dante's phone buzzed. One of the guards. We've got 3 vehicles approaching. Fast. How long? 2 minutes. Dante grabbed Nora's arm. We need to move. Now. Where? There's a safe room in the basement. Reinforced. Hidden. You'll be secure there. What about you? I'll handle this. Dante, go. Now. He pushed her toward the stairs. Nora ran. Her shoulder screamed in protest, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Behind her, she heard Dante shouting orders, heard the guards mobilizing, heard car doors slamming outside. She reached the basement, found the safe room exactly where Dante had described it. A steel door hidden behind a false wall. She yanked it open, slipped inside. The room was small, windowless. A cot, bottled water, a first aid kit, a phone connected to nothing. She locked the door behind her and pressed her back against the cold metal. Upstairs, voices, loud, aggressive. Travis's voice cut through everything else. Where is she? Dante's voice calm. Not here. Bullshit. I know she's here. Teresa told me everything. Then Teresa lied. A crash, something breaking, furniture being overturned. You think you can hide her from me? She's my wife. She belongs to me. She doesn't belong to anyone. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know her. I made her. I shaped her. Without me, she's nothing. If that were true, she wouldn't have called me. The sound of a fist hitting flesh. Someone grunting in pain. Nora pressed her hands over her ears, but she couldn't block it out. More voices. Travis had brought people with him, friends from the bar probably, men who believed his story, who thought they were helping a husband find his runaway wife. "Check every room," Travis ordered. "She's here somewhere." Footsteps overhead, doors slamming, furniture being thrown. Nora's entire body shook. This was it. This was how it ended. Travis would find her, drag her out of this room, take her back to that house. And this time he wouldn't stop with broken bones. This time he'd kill her. Minutes passed like hours. The sounds of searching continued. Then, slowly, they faded. Travis's voice again, distant now. "She's not here." "I told you," Dante said. Teresa said, "Teresa lied. Or you misunderstood. Either way, you're trespassing. You need to leave." "This isn't over." "Yes, it is. You've violated your restraining order. You've trespassed on private property. You've assaulted me in front of witnesses. You're looking at felony charges. So unless you want to spend the next decade in prison, I suggest you leave. Now." Silence. Then car doors slamming, engines starting, vehicles pulling away. Nora didn't move, didn't breathe, waited for the trap to spring. But nothing happened. 5 minutes passed. Then 10, a knock on the safe room door. "Nora, it's me. You can come out." Dante's voice. She didn't move. "Nora, he's gone. I promise. You're safe." Slowly, she unlocked the door, opened it. Dante stood in the hallway. His lip was split. Blood ran down his chin. But he was standing. "Is he really gone?" Nora asked. "For now. He'll come back. Probably." "Then what was the point?" Dante wiped blood from his mouth. "The point is you're still alive and he's not getting past me." But Nora barely heard him, because the betrayal was sinking in now. Teresa. Sweet, scared Teresa, who'd looked at Nora with those desperate eyes and held her daughter and cried about being trapped. It had all been a lie, a performance, a trap. "How much did he pay her?" Nora asked. "Does it matter?" "Yes," Dante sighed. "I don't know, but I'll find out." They went upstairs. The house was a disaster. Furniture overturned, lamps broken, pictures torn from walls. Travis and his friends had torn through it like a tornado. Dr. Reese was in the kitchen, holding an ice pack to Dante's face. "You need stitches." "Later." "Dante." "I said later." He looked at Nora. "Pack your things. We're leaving." "Leaving? Where?" "Somewhere he can't find you. This location's compromised. We need to move." "But you said this place was secure." "It was. Until Teresa sold us out. Now we adapt." Nora felt numb. "I trusted her." "I know. I thought I was helping her." "You were. She just didn't want help. She wanted money, or protection for her husband, or whatever Travis offered her that was worth more than her integrity." "How did you know she was lying?" "I didn't. Not until the texts came through. Even then, I hoped I was wrong." "But you weren't." "No." Nora went to her room, packed the few things she'd accumulated: clothes, toiletries, her mother's cookbook. She heard Marcus's voice downstairs. He must have gotten a call, must have driven through the night when he heard what happened. "Where is she?" Marcus demanded. "Is she okay? Did he hurt her?" "She's fine," Dante said, shaken, but fine. "I'm going to kill him. I swear to God I'm going to find him and kill him." "Get in line." Nora came downstairs carrying her bag. Marcus saw her and crossed the room in 3 strides, pulled her into a hug that made her ribs ache. "I'm okay," she said. "You're not okay. None of this is okay. I'm alive. That's what matters." Marcus pulled back, looked at Dante. "Where are you taking her?" "Better if you don't know." "Bullshit. She's my sister." "Which makes you a liability. Travis will come after you next. Try to use you to get to her. The less you know, the safer you both are." Marcus looked like he wanted to argue, but he didn't, because he knew Dante was right. "Call me," Marcus said to Nora. "Every day. Let me know you're okay." "I will. I mean it. Every day. Or I'm tearing this state apart looking for you." "I promise." They loaded into Dante's SUV. Dr. Reese came too. So did one of the guards, a man named Victor who moved like a shadow and spoke even less. They drove through the night. Nora watched the mountains disappear behind them and felt something inside her break in a way she didn't know how to fix. She'd trusted Teresa, had seen herself in Teresa, had believed they were the same, but they weren't the same. Teresa had chosen money over freedom, had chosen Travis's offer over her own dignity, and that choice had nearly gotten Nora killed. "Where are we going?" Nora asked finally. "Safe house in Wyoming," Dante said. "Different network, different people. Travis doesn't know about it." "You sure about that?" "As sure as I can be." Which meant no. He wasn't sure. Nobody was sure of anything anymore. They drove for hours, stopped once for gas. Nora stayed in the car while Victor pumped and Dante went inside to pay. Dr. Reese handed Nora a bottle of water. "Drink. You're dehydrated." Nora drank. It tasted like dust. "How do you do this?" Nora asked. "See people you've helped turn around and betray you?" "I remind myself that desperation makes people do terrible things." Teresa was scared. Maybe her husband threatened her. Maybe Travis threatened her. Maybe she really believed she had no choice. She had a choice. She chose wrong. Maybe. Or maybe she chose survival, same as you did when you called Dante. It's not the same, isn't it? You did what you had to do to stay alive. So did she. I didn't sell out another victim to save myself. Dr. Reese didn't have an answer for that. They reached the Wyoming safe house just before dawn. It was smaller than the Colorado property, a ranch-style building surrounded by nothing but grass and sky. Inside, it was clean and functional. No personality, no warmth, just beds and bathrooms and reinforced doors. "You'll be safe here," Dante said. Nora didn't believe him, didn't believe in safety anymore. She went to her assigned room, locked the door, sat on the bed and stared at the wall. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "You there? You okay?" She typed back, "I'm here, I'm fine." A lie. But Marcus didn't need the truth right now. Another text, this one from an unknown number. "You can keep running. Won't matter. I'll find you eventually." We both know how this ends. Travis. Nora deleted the text, blocked the number. But it didn't matter. He'd just get another phone, send more texts, keep the pressure on until she cracked. She lay back on the bed and closed her eyes. Tried to sleep. Failed. The sun came up. Golden light spilled through the window. Birds sang outside. The world kept turning like nothing had happened. But everything had happened, and Nora didn't know how to keep going. 3 days passed. Nora barely left her room. Ate when Dr. Reese brought food. Showered when she absolutely had to. Mostly just lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. Dr. Lynn tried to talk to her. Nora refused. Dante tried to talk to her. Nora refused. Marcus called. Nora let it go to voicemail. She was drowning, slowly, quietly. And she didn't have the energy to fight it anymore. On the 4th day, Dante didn't knock. Just walked into her room and sat down in the chair by the window. "You can't stay in here forever," he said. Nora didn't respond. "I know what you're thinking, that trusting people is pointless, that everyone will betray you eventually, that there's no point in trying." "You don't know what I'm thinking." "Yes, I do. Because I thought the same thing after Claire left, after I realized I'd failed Emily. I spent 2 years in a whiskey bottle trying to drown the guilt. Nearly succeeded. Then one day, I woke up in a hospital, and a doctor told me if I kept going the way I was going, I'd be dead in 6 months. Nora looked at him. "What changed?" "I decided being dead wasn't going to fix anything, that the only way to honor Emily was to make sure what happened to her didn't happen to anyone else. So I got sober, started building the network, started helping women escape." "And that fixed you?" "No. But it gave me a reason to stay alive, which was enough." "I don't have a reason." "Yes, you do, Teresa." Nora's stomach turned. "What about her?" "She's in the hospital. Her husband beat her half to death 2 days after she gave Travis your location. Broke her jaw. Fractured her skull. She's in ICU right now, fighting for her life." The room went cold. "Her daughter's with Child Protective Services," Dante continued. "And Teresa's husband is in jail facing attempted murder charges. Turns out Travis paid him $5,000 to send Teresa here as a spy. And when Teresa came back with the information, her husband decided she'd outlived her usefulness." Nora felt sick. "Is she going to live?" "They don't know yet." "Where is she?" "County Hospital in Colorado, under guard." "I want to see her." Why? Good question. Why did she want to see the woman who'd betrayed her? The woman who'd nearly gotten her killed? Because Teresa was her. A different version, a version who'd made different choices, but the same underneath. Because I need to understand, Nora said. I need to know why. Dante studied her. It's a risk. Travis might be watching the hospital. I don't care. You should care. He's escalating, getting desperate. Desperate men do stupid things. Let him. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of being afraid. Fear keeps you alive. No. Fear keeps you paralyzed. I've been paralyzed for 5 years. I'm done. Something shifted in Dante's expression. Something that might have been respect. Okay, he said. We'll go. But we do it my way. And if anything feels wrong, we abort. Agreed? Agreed. They left that afternoon. Dante drove via Victor rode shotgun. Nora sat in the back and watched the landscape blur past. They reached the hospital after dark. Dante parked in a structure 3 blocks away. They approached on foot, Victor scanning constantly for threats. Inside, the hospital smelled like disinfectant and despair. Dante had called ahead. A nurse met them on the 4th floor and led them to Teresa's room. She's awake, the nurse said, but she can't talk much. Her jaw's wired shut. Nora nodded. The nurse opened the door. Nora stepped inside. Teresa lay in the bed, barely recognizable. Her face was swollen beyond recognition. Bandages covered most of her head. Machines beeped steadily, monitoring vitals that looked barely compatible with life. Her eyes found Nora. Widened. She tried to say something. It came out as a wet, unintelligible sound. Nora pulled a chair close. Sat down. I'm not here to yell at you, Nora said quietly. I'm not here to make you feel worse. I'm here because I need to understand why you did it. Teresa's eyes filled with tears. Was it money? Teresa tried to shake her head, stopped. The pain must have been excruciating. Then what? Teresa's hand fumbled for a pad of paper on the bedside table. A nurse must have left it there. She picked up a pen with shaking fingers and wrote something, held it up. He said he'd kill my daughter. 4 words that explained everything. Travis? Nora asked. Teresa nodded. He threatened your daughter if you didn't help him find me? Another nod. And you believed him? Teresa wrote again. He showed me photos of her at daycare, at the park. He knew her schedule, her routine, everything. Nora felt her chest tighten. So you gave him what he wanted. I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice. Teresa's hand shook as she wrote, not when your child's life is on the line. You'd understand if you had kids. Maybe. Maybe Nora would have made the same choice if she'd had a child to protect. Maybe she'd have betrayed a stranger to save someone she loved, but it didn't make the betrayal hurt less. Your husband beat you because you helped Travis, Nora said. Teresa nodded. Was it worth it? Teresa stared at her, then wrote, I don't know. Is your life worth my daughter's? The question hung in the air like poison. Nora didn't have an answer. She stood, started for the door, stopped. Your daughter's safe, she said without turning around. Child Protective Services has her. Your husband's in jail. And when you get out of here, Dante will help you disappear. For real this time. No strings attached. She left before Teresa could respond. In the hallway, Dante was waiting. You okay? No. Did you get what you came for? I don't know. Maybe. They headed for the elevators. Victor led the way, eyes scanning constantly. The elevator doors opened. Travis stepped out. For a second, nobody moved. Travis looked at Nora. Nora looked at Travis. The world compressed into that single moment of recognition. Then everything exploded. Travis lunged. Victor intercepted him. The 2 men crashed into the wall hard enough to crack the drywall. Dante grabbed Nora and pulled her toward the stairs. Behind them, Travis was screaming, You can't keep her from me! She's mine! They hit the stairwell at a run. Dante's phone was already out, calling someone. Security, probably. Down 4 flights, out into the parking garage, footsteps echoing behind them. Travis had gotten past Victor somehow, or Victor had let him go. Either way, he was coming. They reached the SUV. Dante shoved Nora inside, jumped behind the wheel. Travis appeared at the far end of the garage, running, his face twisted with rage. Dante started the engine. Travis reached the SUV just as it started moving. He grabbed the door handle, tried to wrench it open. Dante accelerated. Travis held on for a few feet, then lost his grip, fell, rolled. In the rearview mirror, Nora watched him get to his feet, watched him stand there in the middle of the garage, chest heaving, hands clenched into fists. Then Dante turned a corner, and he was gone. "He knows what you look like now," Dante said as they hit the street. "Knows what car we're driving. Knows we were at the hospital. He'll use all of that." "I know. This was a mistake, coming here." "Probably. So why do you look relieved?" Nora thought about that, about seeing Travis in the flesh instead of just in her nightmares, about watching him chase them and fail, about the moment his hand slipped off the door handle and he fell. "Because I saw him," she said finally, "and I wasn't afraid." "You should be afraid. He's not going to stop." "Good. Neither am I." Dante glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm tired of running, tired of hiding, tired of letting him control my life even from a distance." "So what are you going to do?" Nora looked out the window at the city sliding past, at the lights and the people and the ordinary life she'd been locked out of for 5 years. "I'm going to take everything from him," she said quietly, "the way he took everything from me. That's not... I don't care if it's smart. I don't care if it's dangerous. He tried to kill me, Dante. He used Teresa to find me. He violated the restraining order. He assaulted you. And he's going to keep doing it until someone stops him. The law will stop him. The law's had 5 years. It hasn't stopped him yet. Because you never pressed charges, never testified, never gave them the ammunition they needed. Then maybe it's time I did." Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then, "If you go after him legally, you'll have to face him in court. Testify about what he did, every detail, every beating, every threat. Defense attorneys will tear you apart trying to discredit you. The process could take years." "I know, and there's no guarantee you'll win. Juries are unpredictable. Judges make mistakes. He could walk." "I know that too. So why do it?" "Because sitting in a safe house waiting for him to find me isn't living. It's just dying slowly. At least if I fight back, I'm choosing how the story ends." They drove in silence for a while. Then Dante's phone rang. He answered on Bluetooth. "Talk to me." Victor's voice filled the car. "Subject is in custody. Hospital security grabbed him after the altercation. Police are on scene. He's being charged with violating the restraining order, trespassing, and assault." "Good. Make sure they process him tonight. No bail. I want him in a cell where he can't hurt anyone." "Copy that." Dante hung up, looked at Nora in the mirror again. "He's going to jail, tonight. It won't be for long. His lawyer will get him out by morning, but it's something. It's not enough. It's a start." They drove through the night, back to the Wyoming safe house, back to the empty rooms and the reinforced doors and the illusion of safety. But something had shifted in Nora, some fundamental part of her that had been broken for so long it felt permanent. She'd seen Travis, looked him in the eye, and survived. That had to mean something. When they reached the safe house, Dr. Reese was waiting. She took one look at Nora and said, "What happened?" "We ran into Travis at the hospital," Dante said. "He chased us, didn't catch us." "Jesus Christ, are you okay?" "I'm fine," Nora said. And surprisingly, she meant it. That night, Nora sat in her room with her mother's cookbook open on her lap. She ran her fingers over the handwritten recipes, the stains, the wear marks. Her mother had survived her own hell, cancer, treatments, the knowledge that she was dying, and she'd done it with grace and strength and a refusal to let the disease define her final days. If her mother could face death without flinching, Nora could face Travis. She picked up her phone, called Dante. "Yeah? I want to testify against Travis. I want to press charges, all of them, everything he ever did to me." Silence. Then, "You sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." "Okay, I'll call the lawyer. Start building the case. But Nora, once you start this, you can't stop. Once you testify, once you put your name on those charges, Travis will do everything in his power to destroy you. Are you ready for that?" "Yes." "Are you really?" Nora thought about the bathroom floor. About 5 years of bruises and apologies and swallowing her own screams. About Teresa in a hospital bed with a shattered jaw. About all the women who'd come before her and all the women who'd come after if someone didn't stop him. "Yes," she said again. "I'm ready." "Then we'll do it. Together." Nora hung up. Looked at herself in the mirror. The bruises had faded now, the cuts had healed, but the scars remained, would always remain. But maybe scars weren't weakness. Maybe they were proof you'd survived something that should have killed you. Maybe they were armor. She opened her mother's cookbook to a random page, found a recipe for bread. Simple ingredients: flour, water, yeast, salt, thyme. She'd make bread tomorrow, something real, something tangible, something Travis couldn't take from her. And then she'd start building her case. Outside, the Wyoming night was cold and clear. Stars stretched from horizon to horizon. Somewhere out there, Travis was probably sitting in a jail cell, plotting his next move. Let him plot. Nora had her own plans now, and this time she wasn't running. The bread came out perfect. Golden crust, soft interior. The smell filled the Wyoming safe house kitchen like a memory Nora had forgotten she still carried. She set the loaf on the counter to cool and stared at it like it was proof of something she couldn't name. Dr. Reese walked in, stopped, inhaled deeply. "Is that bread from my mother's cookbook? It smells amazing. It's just bread." "No," Dr. Reese said quietly. "It's not." Nora knew what she meant. The bread wasn't just flour and water. It was reclamation. A small piece of herself she'd clawed back from Travis's grip. Dante appeared in the doorway. "Lawyer's here. You ready?" Nora wiped flour from her hands. "Yeah." The lawyer's name was Rebecca Marsh, late 40s, sharp eyes, expensive suit that somehow looked comfortable instead of stuffy. She sat at the dining table with a laptop and 3 thick folders of documents. "I've been building cases against domestic abusers for 20 years, she said without preamble. "I've seen every tactic, every defense, every way a guilty man tries to walk free. So let me be very clear about what we're up against." Nora sat down across from her. Dante stood behind Nora's chair like a sentinel. "Travis Mercer has a decent lawyer," Rebecca continued. "Not great, but competent. He'll argue that your injuries were self-inflicted, that you're mentally unstable, that you're fabricating abuse claims to punish him for an affair you imagined. He'll drag up every text message, every email, every social media post you've ever made and twist them into evidence of your instability." "I don't have social media." "You did. Before Travis made you delete it. We'll use that. Show the pattern of isolation. But his lawyer will argue you deleted it yourself because you were ashamed of your behavior." Nora's jaw tightened. "So he gets to lie and we have to prove he's lying?" "Welcome to the justice system. The burden of proof is on us. We have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that he committed these crimes. He just has to create enough doubt to make the jury hesitate." "That's insane." "That's reality. But we're not going in unprepared. We have medical records showing a pattern of injuries over 5 years. We have testimony from 4 other women he assaulted. We have the restraining order violation at the hospital. We have his text messages threatening you. And we have you. Your testimony will be the foundation everything else builds on." "What do I have to do?" Rebecca pulled out a legal pad. "Tell me everything. And I mean everything. Every time he hit you. Every threat. Every moment you thought you were going to die. I need dates if you remember them. Witnesses if there were any. Photos if you took them. Anything that corroborates your story." Nora looked at Dante. He nodded. So she told it. All of it. 5 years compressed into 2 hours of testimony that left her voice hoarse and her hands shaking. Rebecca took notes without expression, asking questions only to clarify details. When Nora finished, Rebecca set down her pen. "That's good. That's really good. The level of detail, the specificity. Juries respond to that. But you need to understand what his lawyer will do in cross-examination." "What?" "He'll try to break you, make you angry, make you cry, make you look unstable. He'll ask why you stayed if it was so bad, why you didn't call the police, why you didn't tell anyone. He'll suggest you enjoyed the abuse, that you provoked it, that you're lying for attention or money or revenge." Nora felt sick. "And I'm supposed to just sit there and take it?" "Yes. Because if you lose your temper, if you break down, if you give them any reason to doubt your credibility, they'll use it against you. You have to be calm, measured, unshakable." I don't know if I can do that. Then we'll practice, over and over, until you can answer the worst questions they can throw at you without flinching. They practiced for 3 days. Rebecca played the role of Travis's lawyer, asking questions designed to shred Nora's credibility. Questions about her sexual history, her mental health, her relationship with Dante, whether she was sleeping with him, whether this whole thing was a conspiracy to extort Travis for money. By the 3rd day, Nora could answer without her voice shaking, could look Rebecca in the eye and recite the facts without breaking down. Good, Rebecca said. That's what I need. That's what the jury needs to see. When's the trial? 6 months. Maybe sooner if we get lucky with the docket. In the meantime, Travis is out on bail, restricted to his home county, ankle monitor, daily check-ins with his probation officer. He violates any of that. He goes back to jail pending trial. 6 months, Nora repeated. I have to wait 6 months to face him? I know it feels like forever, but it gives us time to build an airtight case. Time to prepare you. Time to line up expert witnesses on domestic violence patterns and trauma responses. Nora nodded. 6 months. Half a year of living in limbo while Travis plotted his defense. She could survive 6 months. She'd survived 5 years. The weeks blurred together. Nora fell into a routine, therapy with Dr. Lin 3 times a week, baking bread most mornings, helping Dante coordinate rescues for other women who called the network's emergency line. That last part became her anchor. Every time a frightened voice came through the phone asking if help was real, Nora would talk them through it, tell them what to pack, where to go, how to stay safe until extraction. She saved 11 women in 4 months. Each one felt like a small victory against Travis, against every man like him. Marcus visited twice, brought groceries and stupid jokes and refused to talk about Travis, just sat with Nora and watched old movies and pretended everything was normal. You look better, he said during his 2nd visit. Stronger. I feel stronger. Good. Because when this goes to trial, you're going to need every ounce of strength you've got. I know. And if it doesn't go the way we want, if the jury doesn't convict, they will. But if they don't, Marcus, they will. Because I'm not going to let Travis walk away from this. Not again. He looked at her for a long moment. You really have changed. Had to. The old me would have let him win. And the new you? The new me is going to bury him. 3 weeks before the trial, Rebecca called. We have a problem. Nora's stomach dropped. What kind of problem? One of our witnesses, the woman who was going to testify about Travis assaulting her 7 years ago, she's backing out, says she can't handle the pressure. His lawyer's been harassing her, following her, making her life hell. Can they do that? Technically, no. Practically, yes. It's intimidation and it's illegal, but it's hard to prove unless we catch them in the act. What does this mean for the case? It weakens it. We still have 3 other victims willing to testify. We still have your medical records. We still have the restraining order violation. But losing her testimony hurts. The jury was going to see a pattern spanning nearly a decade. Now they'll only see half that. So we find another witness. From where? These women are terrified. Most of them won't even talk to me on the phone, let alone get on a witness stand and accuse him in public. Nora thought about the 11 women she'd helped escape, about the dozens more in Dante's network. I know where to find them. She spent the next 2 weeks reaching out, calling every woman who'd ever crossed paths with Travis. Some hung up immediately, some listened but refused. But 3 agreed to testify. 3 women who'd been hurt by Travis in bars, at parties, during casual encounters that turned violent. Women he'd thought he could abuse without consequences because they were nobody, invisible. But they weren't invisible anymore. Rebecca interviewed them, took their statements, added them to the witness list. This is good, she said. This is really good. We're showing a pattern that predates your marriage, that proves this isn't about your relationship going bad. It's about him being a predator who found a victim willing to stay. The words stung, but Nora didn't argue. They were true. 1 week before trial, Dante sat Nora down in his office. I need to tell you something. The tone in his voice made Nora's chest tighten. What? Travis knows where you are. The room went cold. How? One of his friends has been following Marcus. Got a license plate number when Marcus drove back to Denver after his last visit. traced it to a rental company, bribed someone for the GPS data, led them right here. When? 3 days ago. I've had extra security on rotation since then. He hasn't made a move yet, but he will. You should have told me. I'm telling you now, and I'm telling you we need to move you. Tonight, before he tries something. No. Nora, no. I'm tired of running. If he wants to come for me, let him. Let him violate the restraining order again. Let him prove to everyone what kind of man he is. That's not how this works. If he gets to you, if he hurts you or worse, there is no trial. There's just a funeral and him walking free on a self-defense claim. Then we make sure he doesn't get to me. But I'm not leaving. Not this close to trial. Not when I'm finally about to face him in court. Dante's jaw worked. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. He stared at her, then nodded slowly. Okay, but we do this my way. Extra guards, no leaving the property, no opening doors or windows, no contact with anyone outside the network until after the trial. Fine. I'm serious, Nora. He's desperate. Desperate men are the most dangerous. I know, but I'm desperate too. And I'm done being the one who's afraid. That night, Nora couldn't sleep. She lay in bed listening to the house settle, listening to footsteps in the hallway, guards making their rounds, listening to her own heartbeat hammering against her ribs. Travis knew where she was probably out there right now, watching, planning. Let him. She got out of bed, went to the kitchen, started making bread. Kneading dough helped, gave her hands something to do besides shake. Dr. Reese found her at 2 a.m, covered in flour, working dough like she was trying to strangle it. Can't sleep? Dr. Reese asked. Never can. Want to talk about it? Not really. Dr. Reese poured herself coffee, sat at the kitchen table. You know, I've been doing this work for 8 years, helping Dante extract women from dangerous situations. I've seen a lot of victims. Some heal, some don't. Some find peace. Some spend the rest of their lives looking over their shoulders. Which one am I? I don't know yet, but I know you're different from most. Most victims just want to forget, want to move on, want to pretend it never happened. You're running toward the trauma instead of away from it. Is that bad? I don't know. Maybe it's the only way you heal, or maybe you're going to burn yourself out trying to fight a battle you can't win. Nora shaped the dough into a loaf, set it aside to rise. What would you do if you were me? I'd probably do exactly what you're doing, which either means you're brave or we're both idiots. Despite everything, Nora smiled. The bread rose. Nora put it in the oven. 30 minutes later, the kitchen smelled like home. She was pulling the loaf out when the lights went out. Complete darkness. Total silence. Then Dr. Reese's voice, sharp. Get down! Nora dropped. The bread clattered to the floor. Footsteps. Heavy. Multiple people moving through the house. A flashlight beam cut through the darkness. Then another. The guards. Stay here, Dr. Reese whispered. Don't move. She disappeared into the darkness. Nora's heart hammered. She crawled under the kitchen table, pressed her back against the wall, tried to control her breathing. More footsteps. Shouting. Clear! Clear! Back door's breached. Back door. Someone had broken in through the back door, Dante's voice loud. Where is she? Kitchen! Footsteps running toward her. Dante appeared, flashlight in one hand, gun in the other. You okay? Yeah. Someone cut the power. Came in through the back. We got one of them. The other ran. Who were they? Don't know yet, but they weren't professionals. Moved like amateurs. Which meant Travis, or Travis's friends. Dante helped Nora to her feet, led her through the dark house to his office. The generator kicked in. Emergency lights flickered on. In the living room, one of the guards had a man pinned to the floor, face down, hands zip-tied behind his back. Nora recognized him, one of Travis's drinking buddies from the bar, Greg something. Dante crouched next to him. Who sent you? Greg said nothing. I asked you a question. Who sent you? Still nothing. Dante looked at Victor. Victor pulled Greg to his feet, slammed him against the wall hard enough to rattle his teeth. Last chance, Dante said. Who sent you, and what were you supposed to do? Greg spat blood. Travis said to grab her. Bring her back. He's waiting. Waiting where? I'm not telling you shit. Victor hit him. not hard, just enough to make the point. Where? Dante repeated. The bar. Travis's bar. He's got it rigged. Cameras disabled. Locks changed. Says if she wants to face him so bad, she can do it there. Tonight. Just the two of them. Nora's blood turned to ice. And if she doesn't come? Dante asked. He sends more people. Keeps sending them until you run out of guards or she runs out of luck. Dante stood, looked at Nora. We call the police. Now. Get Travis arrested for conspiracy to commit kidnapping. He'll lawyer up, Nora said. Claim Greg acted alone, that he had no knowledge of any of this. We have Greg's testimony, which Greg will recant the second Travis threatens him. You know how this works, Dante. Travis walks. He always walks. Not this time. Yes, this time. Unless... She stopped. The idea forming in her mind was insane. Suicidal. But it was also the only way to end this. Unless what? Dante asked. Unless I go to him. Absolutely not. Hear me out. He wants me at the bar. Alone. Fine. I go. But you wire me. Record everything. Get him to confess. Get him to admit what he's done. Then we have him. On tape. In his own words. No lawyer can spin that. He'll kill you. Maybe. Or maybe he'll do what he always does. Talk. Explain why I deserved it. Justify himself. Men like Travis can't help it. They need you to understand why they're right. Why they're the victim. We use that against him. Dante shook his head. Too dangerous. More dangerous than waiting here for him to send a dozen more people? More dangerous than living the rest of my life looking over my shoulder? Yes. Because at least if you're alive, you have a chance. You walk into that bar, there's a good chance you don't walk out. Then you follow me in. Give me 10 minutes to get him talking, then storm the place. 10 minutes is a lifetime when someone's trying to kill you. I know, but it's the only play we have left. Rebecca's voice from the doorway. She's right. They all turned. Rebecca stood there, still in her pajamas, looking like she'd just woken up. I've been listening, Rebecca said. And she's right. We get Travis on tape confessing, it's game over. No trial needed. He pleads out, or he goes away for decades. And if he kills her before she gets the confession, Dante asked, then we prosecute him for murder instead of assault. Either way, he's done. That's a hell of a gamble with someone else's life. Rebecca looked at Nora. It's her life. Her choice. Nora met her eyes. I'm doing this. Dante looked like he wanted to argue, but he didn't. Just closed his eyes and took a long breath. Okay, he said finally. But we do it smart. You wear a wire. We position a team outside. You get him talking for 5 minutes, not 10, then we come in. And if at any point you think he's going to hurt you, you say the safe word and we breach immediately. What's the safe word? Mercy. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. They spent the next 2 hours preparing. Rebecca coached Nora on what questions to ask, how to guide Travis into confession without making it obvious. Victor fitted Nora with a wire, a tiny microphone hidden under her shirt, transmitting to a receiver in Dante's SUV. Dr. Reese gave Nora something for the shaking. Just enough to steady your hands, not enough to slow your reflexes. Nora swallowed the pill dry. At 4 a.m, they loaded into 2 vehicles. Nora rode with Dante. Victor and 2 other guards followed in a second SUV. The drive to Travis's bar took 90 minutes. Nora spent them staring out the window, watching the darkness slide past, trying to remember what breathing felt like. You don't have to do this, Dante said. Yes, I do. Why? Because if I don't face him now, I never will, and I'll spend the rest of my life being afraid. I'd rather die than keep living like that. That's the trauma talking. No, that's me talking, for the first time in 5 years. They reached the bar just as dawn started graying the eastern sky. The place looked exactly as Nora remembered it. Dive exterior. Neon sign dark. Parking lot empty except for Travis's truck. He was inside, waiting. Dante parked 2 blocks away. Killed the engine. 5 minutes, he said. You get him talking. You get him to confess. Then you say the safe word and we come get you. What if he doesn't confess? Then you get out, walk away, live to fight another day. And if he won't let me leave? Dante didn't answer, didn't need to. Nora checked the wire, made sure it was transmitting. Dante confirmed signal on his end. You sure about this? he asked one more time. No, but I'm doing it anyway. She got out of the SUV, started walking toward the bar. Each step felt like walking underwater, like moving through concrete. The front door was unlocked. She pushed it open. Inside, the bar was dark except for a single light over the pool table. Travis stood beneath it, leaning against the table, arms crossed. He looked different, thinner, older. The cut on his cheekbone from Dante had scarred badly. His eyes were red-rimmed. He'd been drinking. "You came," he said. "You didn't give me much choice." "There's always a choice, Nora. You chose to run. You chose to call that psychopath. You chose to destroy my life. You destroyed your own life. No, you did. By refusing to understand, by refusing to accept that everything I did was for you, to make you better, to fix you. I was never broken. Yes, you were. You were weak, pathetic. I made you strong. You beat me half to death. I taught you consequences. That's not the same thing." Nora forced herself to breathe, to stay calm, to remember Rebecca's coaching. "Why did you want me here, Travis? What do you want from me?" "I want you to come home, where you belong." "I'm not coming home." "Yes, you are, because you don't have anywhere else to go. That network Dante runs? It's illegal, kidnapping, harboring fugitives. He's going down, and when he does, everyone he helped goes down with him, including you." "That's not true, isn't it? You think the law cares that you were running from me? You're still my wife, legally, until death do us part, remember?" "I want a divorce." Travis laughed. The sound echoed through the empty bar. "You want a divorce, that's cute. You don't get to want things, Nora. You get to do what I tell you. That's how marriage works. That's how abuse works. Call it whatever you want. Doesn't change reality. You're mine. You've always been mine. And when this trial collapses, when my lawyer tears apart every witness, every piece of evidence, every lie you've told, you're going to realize you made a mistake. And then you're going to come crawling back. I'd rather die." "That can be arranged." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Nora's hand moved to her pocket, to the small canister of pepper spray Dante had given her, just in case. Travis saw the movement, smiled. "You think you're going to fight me? After everything I taught you about fighting back?" He moved around the pool table, slowly, each step deliberate. Nora backed up. "Stay away from me." "Or what? You'll scream." "Nobody's coming, Nora. It's just us, like it should have been from the beginning." "Dante's outside. If I don't walk out of here in 5 minutes, he's calling the police." "Let him call. By the time they arrive, we'll be long gone. Just you and me. Somewhere nobody can find us. Somewhere you can remember how good we were together before you ruined everything." He was close now. Close enough that Nora could smell the bourbon on his breath, see the broken blood vessels in his eyes. "You hurt me," she said quietly. "For 5 years. Every day. You made me afraid to breathe. I loved you." "That's not love. You don't get to decide what love is. I do. And I loved you enough to try to make you perfect. It's not my fault you failed. I didn't fail. You did. You failed at being human." Travis's hand shot out, grabbed her throat, slammed her against the wall hard enough to crack the drywall. "Don't," he hissed, "ever tell me I failed." Nora couldn't breathe. The world was going gray at the edges. She fumbled for the pepper spray, found it, pulled it free, sprayed him directly in the eyes. Travis screamed, "Let go!" Staggered backward, clawing at his face. Nora ran for the door. Travis's hand caught her ankle. She fell. Hard. Her chin cracked against the floor. Blood filled her mouth. Travis dragged her backward, flipped her over, straddled her. His hands found her throat again. "You think you can run from me?" he screamed. "You think you can destroy my life and walk away?" Nora couldn't answer, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. This was it. This was how it ended. Not in a courtroom, not with justice, just her dying on the floor of a shitty bar while the man who'd promised to love her choked the life out of her. She tried to say the safe word, tried to scream for help. Nothing came out. Travis's face was inches from hers. Tears and snot and pepper spray residue mixed on his skin. "I loved you," he sobbed. "I loved you so much, and you threw it away. You threw us away." Nora's vision tunneled. The edges went black. This was it. This was... The door exploded inward. Dante was through it before the splinters hit the ground. Victor right behind him. Travis didn't let go, just kept squeezing, kept crying, kept telling Nora he loved her even as he killed her. Dante grabbed Travis by the back of his shirt, ripped him off Nora, threw him across the room hard enough to shatter a table. Nora gasped. Air flooded her lungs. She rolled onto her side and vomited. Travis tried to stand. Victor put him down with a knee to the spine. Dante knelt beside Nora. "You're okay. You're okay. Breathe." She couldn't. Tried. Failed. Her throat felt crushed. Dr. Reese was suddenly there, checking her vitals, examining her neck, shining a light in her eyes. "Hospital," she said. "Now." "Did..." Nora's voice came out as a croak. "Did you get it? The confession?" Dante held up his phone. The recording app was still running. Every word. Nora closed her eyes, let her head fall back against the floor. She'd done it. She'd faced him, and she'd survived. Travis was screaming from across the room, something about how they'd broken in illegally, how none of this would hold up in court, how his lawyer would destroy them. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. Dante helped Nora to her feet. "Can you walk?" She nodded, took a step. Her legs almost gave out, but Dante caught her. Together they walked out of the bar, into the dawn, into the parking lot where 3 police cars were pulling in. Rebecca was already there, talking to the officers, showing them paperwork, explaining the situation. One of the cops approached Dante. "You Dante Cross?" "Yeah." "We got a complaint about a kidnapping. You want to tell me what's going on?" Rebecca handed him a folder. "Mr. Mercer, the man inside, has been harassing my client in violation of a restraining order. He lured her here under threat of continued harassment and attempted to kill her. We have it all on tape. We also have the confession to 5 years of domestic violence. You'll want to hear it." The cop looked skeptical. "Ma'am, I don't... Just listen to the tape, please." The cop looked at Nora, at her throat already bruising, at the blood on her chin. "Jesus," he muttered. "Okay, let's hear it." They played the recording. Travis's voice filled the parking lot. Every threat, every admission, every moment he'd incriminated himself thinking nobody was listening. By the time it finished, 3 more police cars had arrived. The cop looked at his partner. "Get him out here. Cuff him. Read him his rights." "On what charge?" "Attempted murder, assault, violation of a restraining order. We'll figure out the rest at the station." They brought Travis out in handcuffs. He was still crying, still protesting, still claiming Nora had provoked him, that he'd been defending himself, that this was all a setup. Nobody was listening. As they pushed him into the back of a police car, he looked at Nora one last time. "This isn't over," he said. Nora stared back at him. "Yes, it is." The door closed. The car pulled away. And for the first time in 5 years, Nora felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. The hospital kept her overnight for observation. Bruised trachea, minor concussion, cuts and scrapes. Nothing life-threatening. Marcus arrived around noon looking like he hadn't slept in days. "I saw it on the news. Are you..." "I'm fine." "Nora, you're not fine. He tried to kill you." "I know. But he failed, and now he's going to prison." "For how long?" Rebecca appeared in the doorway. "With the recording? With the restraining order violation? With the attempted murder charge? Minimum 15 years, probably more if we push for consecutive sentences on the other charges." Marcus let out a breath. 15 years. At least. And he'll be a registered offender, monitored, restricted. Even when he gets out, his life is over. Nora closed her eyes. 15 years, she'd be 43. Travis would be 50-something. They'd both be different people by then, if he survived prison. Men like Travis didn't do well in places where they couldn't control everything. "There's something else," Rebecca said. "Teresa Blake wants to see you." Nora's eyes snapped open. "What?" "She heard about what happened, called my office this morning, says she needs to talk to you, says it's important." "I don't want to see her." "I told her that. She said she'd wait as long as it takes." Nora looked at Dante. He'd been standing silently in the corner since they'd arrived at the hospital. "Your call," he said. Nora thought about it. About Teresa lying in a hospital bed with a shattered jaw. About the daughter who'd been used as leverage. about choices made under impossible pressure. Okay, she said finally, but not now, after the trial, after this is over. Fair enough. The trial never happened. 3 days after the bar confrontation, Travis's lawyer called Rebecca with a plea deal. Travis would plead guilty to all charges in exchange for 20 years instead of life. He knows the recording is damning, Rebecca explained. Knows a jury would convict in about 10 minutes. This way he at least avoids dying in prison. What do you think I should do? Nora asked. I think you should take it. 20 years is a long time. You'd be free of him, free to rebuild your life without wading through months of trial and appeals. Nora thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. No. No? I want the trial. I want to testify. I want every woman he ever hurt to testify. I want the world to hear what he did. I want it on public record. Forever. Rebecca smiled. Okay then, we go to trial. But 2 weeks later, Travis tried again. Offered 25 years if Nora dropped the civil suit she'd filed. Nora refused. 30 years. Full restitution for medical expenses. Nora refused. Finally, Travis's lawyer played his last card. Life in prison. No possibility of parole. He admits everything, apologizes publicly, and he signs over every asset he owns to Nora and the other victims. Rebecca brought the offer to Nora. This is as good as it gets. Better than any trial outcome. He dies in prison. You get everything he has, and you never have to see him again. Nora stared at the paperwork, at Travis's signature at the bottom, at the lawyer's notes about asset distribution. He's doing this to avoid trial, she said. Probably. He doesn't want the world hearing those recordings, doesn't want his name dragged through the mud. Then I want the trial. Nora, I want the trial. I want people to know what he did. I want it public. I want it unavoidable. He doesn't get to hide. Not this time. Rebecca was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. Okay. We go to trial, but understand what you're choosing. Weeks of testimony, brutal cross-examination, every detail of your private life exposed. The defense will tear you apart. Are you ready for that? Nora thought about the bathroom floor, about 5 years of bruises, about Teresa and the 11 women she'd helped escape, and the hundreds more still trapped. Yes, she said. I'm ready. The trial was set for 6 weeks out. Nora spent those weeks preparing, practicing her testimony, memorizing dates, bracing herself for the storm. Dante offered to let her stay at a new safe house. Nora refused. She rented a small apartment in Denver under a false name, furnished it with the bare minimum, hung her mother's cookbook on the kitchen wall. She was building a life, her life, not Travis's, not anyone else's, just hers. The night before the trial, she baked bread, stood in her tiny kitchen kneading dough, and thought about everything that had led her to this moment. The phone call that had saved her life, the escape, the recovery, the choice to fight back. Tomorrow she'd walk into that courtroom and face Travis one final time. She'd look him in the eye and tell the world exactly what he'd done. And then, finally, she'd be free. She set the bread aside to rise and walk to the window. The city stretched out below her, a million lights against the darkness. Somewhere out there, women were trapped in bathrooms, hiding bruises, swallowing screams, waiting for someone to tell them there was a way out. Tomorrow, Nora would be that someone. Tomorrow, she'd show them what survival looked like. Tomorrow, she'd prove that monsters could be beaten. The bread finished rising. She put it in the oven. 30 minutes later, the apartment smelled like hope. She ate half the loaf standing at the counter, butter melting into the warm crust. Then she went to bed and, for the first time in months, slept without nightmares. Morning came too fast and too slow. Nora dressed carefully. Navy suit Rebecca had picked out. Minimal makeup, hair pulled back. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. This woman was strong, certain, unafraid. This woman had survived. Dante picked her up at 8. They drove to the courthouse in silence. Rebecca met them on the steps. You ready? She asked. Nora looked up at the building, at the doors she'd walked through, at the courtroom where her life would be dissected and examined and judged. Yes, she said. I'm ready. They walked inside together, and the real battle began. The courtroom smelled like old wood and fear. Nora sat at the plaintiff's table, hands folded in her lap, trying to keep them from shaking. Rebecca sat to her right, reviewing notes. Dante sat in the gallery directly behind her, close enough that she could feel his presence like a shield. Across the aisle, Travis sat with his lawyer. He'd lost weight in jail. His skin had gone gray, but his eyes, those eyes that had tracked her every movement for 5 years, still held the same cold fury. He stared at her. She stared back. Neither blinked. The bailiff stood. All rise. Everyone rose. Judge Patricia Henshaw entered, a woman in her 60s with iron gray hair and a face that had seen too much to be impressed by anything. She sat. Everyone else sat. "We're here for the trial of State versus Travis Mercer," Judge Henshaw said. "Multiple counts of domestic violence, assault, attempted murder, and violation of a restraining order. Prosecution. Are you ready?" Rebecca stood. "Yes, Your Honor." "Defense?" Travis's lawyer, a slick-looking man named Donald Krause, stood. "Ready, Your Honor." "Then let's begin. Prosecution, your opening statement." Rebecca approached the jury. 12 faces, 8 women, 4 men, all looking at her with varying degrees of interest and skepticism. 5 years, Rebecca began. That's how long Nora Halstead lived in hell. Not the metaphorical kind, the kind with broken bones and split lips and nights spent wondering if she'd see morning. The defendant, Travis Mercer, beat her, strangled her, threatened to kill her. And when she finally found the courage to escape, he hunted her, violated a restraining order, attempted to murder her in a bar while confessing to years of abuse. She walked to the evidence table, picked up a tablet, pressed play. Travis's voice filled the courtroom. The recording from the bar, every word, every threat, every admission. The jury listened. Some took notes. Some just stared. When it ended, Rebecca set down the tablet. "You'll hear from Nora herself, from medical professionals who treated her injuries, from other women the defendant assaulted, from experts on domestic violence patterns. And when you've heard it all, you'll understand that this isn't a case about a marriage gone bad. This is a case about a predator who found a victim and tortured her for 5 years. Thank you." She sat down. Krause stood for the defense. "My client made mistakes. He'll admit that. But mistakes aren't crimes. What you just heard on that recording was a man pushed to his breaking point by a woman who'd been manipulating him for years. A woman who called another man, a stranger, in the middle of the night. A woman who conspired with that man to destroy my client's reputation, his business, his life. Yes, Travis Mercer was angry. Yes, he said things he regrets. But anger isn't attempted murder, and regret isn't guilt." He walked toward the jury. "The prosecution wants you to believe Nora Halstead is a helpless victim. But the evidence will show she's an active participant in her own narrative. That she stayed because she wanted to. That she called Mr. Cross not for rescue, but for revenge. That everything you'll hear from her is calculated to paint my client as a monster when the truth is far more complicated. Thank you." He sat. Judge Henshaw looked at Rebecca. "Call your first witness." "The prosecution calls Nora Halstead." Nora stood. Her legs felt like water. She walked to the witness stand. The bailiff swore her in. She sat. Rebecca approached. "Please state your name for the record." "Nora Marie Halstead." "And how do you know the defendant?" "He's my husband. Was my husband. We're divorced now." "When did you marry him?" "March 15th, 5 years ago." "And when did the abuse begin?" Nora's throat tightened. 6 months after the wedding. I burned dinner. He slapped me. Then he cried and apologized and said it would never happen again." "But it did happen again." "Yes. 2 weeks later, then a month later, then every few days, then every day." "Can you describe the types of abuse?" Nora took a breath. "He hit me, punched me, kicked me, strangled me, threw me into walls, broke my fingers, dislocated my shoulder, split my lip, gave me concussions. Once he—" Her voice broke. Rebecca waited. "Once he held my hand over the stove burner because I'd talked to a male cashier at the grocery store. 2nd-degree burns. I told the doctor I'd grabbed a hot pan without thinking." She heard someone in the gallery gasp, didn't look to see who. "Did you ever fight back?" Rebecca asked. "No." "Why not?" "Because he was bigger, stronger. And because every time I thought about fighting back, I remembered what happened when I burned dinner. He'd said if I ever raised a hand to him, he'd kill me, I believed him. Did you ever try to leave? No, not until the night I called Dante Cross. Why didn't you leave sooner? Nora looked at the jury, at their faces, some sympathetic, some skeptical, because he'd isolated me from everyone, my family, my friends. He made me quit my job, controlled all the money, monitored my phone. I had nowhere to go, no resources, no way out. And he'd told me that if I ever tried to leave, he'd find me and kill me. I believed that too. What changed the night you called Mr. Cross? I realized I was going to die either way. Stay and die slowly. Leave and maybe die quickly. At least leaving gave me a chance. Rebecca showed her a series of photographs, medical records, photos of bruises, x-rays of broken bones. Are these your injuries? Nora looked at them. Yes. All from the defendant? Yes. Rebecca entered them into evidence, then turned to the jury. No further questions. Kraus stood, approached slowly, like a predator circling prey. Miss Halstead, you said you never fought back, never tried to leave, never told anyone. Is that correct? Yes. Not your brother? Not your sister? Not a doctor or a friend or a neighbor? No. Why not? I told you, he isolated me. I didn't have anyone to tell. But you had a phone. You could have called 911 at any time. He monitored my phone. I couldn't or wouldn't. Objection, Rebecca said, argumentative. Sustained, Judge Henshaw said. Kraus changed tactics. You called Mr. Cross, a man you'd met once, years before. Why him? He gave me his card, told me if I ever needed help. A strange man gave you his card and you kept it, for years, hidden from your husband. Doesn't that seem odd? No, it seems like survival. Or it seems like you were planning an exit strategy, planning to leave your husband for another man. That's not... You called Mr. Cross in the middle of the night. He came immediately, with a doctor, a lawyer, an armed guard, almost like he'd been waiting for your call, like you'd planned it together. We didn't plan anything. I was dying. I called for help. But you admit you'd kept his card, hidden from your husband, for years. Yes. And when Mr. Cross arrived, he assaulted my client, broke his hand, dislocated his jaw, cracked his ribs. Isn't that correct? Travis attacked him first. Dante was defending himself. So you say. But we only have your word for that. And Mr. Cross's word. Two people who've been working together to destroy my client. Objection, Rebecca said. Counsel is testifying. Sustained. Mr. Kraus, ask questions. Don't make speeches. Kraus nodded. Ms. Halstead, did you and Mr. Cross become romantically involved after you left your husband? No. You're sure? Yes. You never slept with him? No. Never kissed him? No. Never had any physical relationship whatsoever? No, he helped me, that's all. He helped you. By hiding you at his property, by paying for your medical care, your therapy, your lawyers. That's quite a lot of help for a stranger. He helps women escape abusive relationships. It's what he does. For free? Yes. Out of the goodness of his heart? Yes. Kraus smiled like he'd caught her in a lie. Or because he has an agenda, because he's building a case against men like my client, using women like you as pawns in some personal vendetta. That's not true, isn't it? Mr. Cross's sister-in-law was killed by her husband 15 years ago. Since then, he's made it his mission to destroy men he deems abusive, whether they actually are or not. Objection, Rebecca said. Relevance, that's. Your Honor, it goes to bias. Mr. Cross has a history of targeting men in domestic disputes. I'll allow it. But tread carefully, Mr. Kraus. Kraus turned back to Nora. Did Mr. Cross tell you about his sister-in-law? Yes. Did he tell you he blames himself for her death? Yes. And did it occur to you that helping you might be his way of absolving that guilt? That maybe he's not actually helping you so much as using you to feel better about himself? Nora's hands clenched. He saved my life. Or he inserted himself into your life and convinced you that you needed saving. Tell me, Ms. Halstead, before you met Mr. Cross, did you consider yourself abused? What? Simple question. Before Mr. Cross told you that you were a victim, did you think of yourself that way? I knew Travis was hurting me. Hurting you or disciplining you? The courtroom went silent. Excuse me? Nora said. You said you burned dinner, you talked to other men, you disobeyed your husband's reasonable requests. Isn't it possible he was simply trying to maintain order in his household? Objection! Rebecca was on her feet. Your Honor, this is outrageous. Sustained. Mr. Krause, you're out of line. Withdrawn, Krause said smoothly. Let me rephrase. Miss Halstead, did you ever provoke your husband? No. Never? No. You never yelled at him? Never ignored him? Never did anything that might justify his frustration? Nothing justifies beating your wife. But you admit you frustrated him. Being human isn't provocation. Krause paused. Changed direction again. The night you called Mr. Cross. You were in the bathroom, door locked. Your husband was trying to get in. Why was the door locked? Because he was going to kill me. Or because you were hiding, planning your escape, waiting for Mr. Cross to arrive. That's insane. Is it? You had Mr. Cross's number memorized. You called him immediately. He arrived within minutes with a full team, almost like it was rehearsed. It wasn't rehearsed. I was dying. And yet here you are, alive, testifying. Doesn't look like dying to me. Nora's vision blurred. She wanted to scream, to throw something, to make them understand. But she didn't. Just sat there and took it. The way she'd taken everything for 5 years. No further questions, Krause said. Rebecca stood for redirect. Nora, do you love Travis Mercer? No. Did you ever love him? I thought I did, at first. Then I was too afraid to think about anything except surviving. If Mr. Krause's theory is correct, if you and Mr. Cross conspired to frame your husband, why would you risk your life going to that bar alone? I wouldn't. The only reason I went was to get Travis to confess, to get justice for myself and every other woman he hurt. And did he confess? Yes. You heard the recording. The recording Mr. Krause claims is somehow fabricated or taken out of context. But you were there. You heard him. What did he say? He said he loved me, that he was trying to fix me, that I belonged to him, that if I didn't come back, he'd keep sending people until I did, or until I was dead. Then he tried to strangle me. Why didn't you fight back? I did. I used the pepper spray Dante gave me, but he was stronger. He always was. What do you want from this trial, Nora? Nora looked at Travis. He stared back. Empty. Cold. I want him to admit what he did, she said quietly. I want the world to know. And I want him to never hurt anyone else again. Thank you. No further questions. Nora stepped down, walked back to her seat. Her legs barely held her. The trial continued for 3 days. Rebecca called witness after witness. Dr. Reese testified about Nora's injuries. Dr. Lynn testified about trauma patterns in abuse victims. 4 other women testified about Travis assaulting them. Each testimony was brutal. Each cross-examination worse. Krause tore into every witness, suggested they were lying, suggested they were coached, suggested they were part of some conspiracy orchestrated by Dante. On the 4th day, Dante took the stand. State your name for the record. Dante Alexander Cross. What do you do for a living, Mr. Cross? I run a private security firm. I also operate a network that helps domestic violence victims escape dangerous situations. How many women have you helped? 74, including Ms. Halstead. And how do you fund this network? Personal wealth? Some donations? Mostly my own money. Why? Dante was quiet for a moment. Because 15 years ago, my sister-in-law was murdered by her husband. I could have stopped it. I didn't. I've been trying to make up for that ever since. By destroying men you decide are abusive? By helping women who ask for help? How do you determine who to help? They call. I evaluate the situation. If it's legitimate, I help. And if it's not legitimate, then I don't. But you're not trained in psychology. You're not a social worker. You're just a man with money and guilt. How do you know you're not making things worse? Because the women I help are alive. That's how I know. Krause paced. You gave Ms. Halstead your card years before she called. Why? I saw bruises, recognized the signs, wanted her to have an option if she needed it. An option? Or an invitation to leave her husband and come to you? An invitation to save her own life. By calling you. A strange man in the middle of the night. Yes. And when she called, you came immediately. Yes. With a doctor, a lawyer, an armed guard. Yes. Almost like you'd been planning it. I'm always prepared to help. That's not planning, that's readiness. You assaulted Mr. Mercer that night. I defended myself when he attacked me. He says you attacked first. He's lying. Or you are. Objection, Rebecca said. Sustained. Krauss turned away. You've made it your mission to destroy abusive men, correct? I've made it my mission to help abused women. If that destroys their abusers, so be it. And you don't see how that might bias you, how that might make you more likely to believe a woman like Ms. Halstead, whether she's telling the truth or not. I see evidence, I see injuries, I see patterns. I don't need bias to recognize abuse. But you do have bias. Admit it. I have experience. That's not the same thing. No further questions. Rebecca stood. Mr. Cross, in your experience, how common is it for abuse victims to stay with their abusers? Extremely common. Most victims leave and return multiple times before escaping permanently. Why? Fear, financial dependence, emotional manipulation, threats against their children or families, isolation. The abuser convinces them they have nowhere else to go. Did Ms. Halstead exhibit those patterns? Yes, all of them. In your professional opinion, was she a victim of domestic violence? Without question. Thank you. No further questions. The prosecution rested. The defense called Travis to the stand. He walked up slowly, sat. The bailiff swore him in. Krauss approached. Mr. Mercer, did you love your wife? Yes, more than anything. Did you ever hit her? Travis hesitated. The courtroom held its breath. Yes, he said finally. I did. I'm not proud of it. But yes. A murmur ran through the gallery. Judge Henshaw banged her gavel. Why did you hit her? Krauss asked. Because I was frustrated, because I was drinking too much, because I didn't know how else to communicate. I know that's not an excuse. I know I was wrong, but I never meant to hurt her. Not really. When Ms. Halstead called Mr. Cross, how did that make you feel? Betrayed. Like she'd been planning to leave me all along. Like everything we'd built together meant nothing. What did you do? I tried to talk to her, tried to bring her home. I didn't want to lose her. Did you try to kill her? No, never. I was angry. I said things I regret. But I never wanted her dead. I wanted her back. The recording the prosecution played, your voice saying you'd send people until she was dead. What did you mean by that? I was drunk, upset. I didn't mean it literally. I just wanted her to understand how much I needed her. And at the bar, when you grabbed her throat, what were you thinking? I wasn't thinking. I was reacting. She sprayed me with pepper spray. I couldn't see. I panicked. I didn't know what I was doing. Do you regret it? Travis looked at Nora, his eyes filled with tears. Every day. I wish I could take it all back. I wish I'd been better, been the husband she deserved. But I can't change the past. All I can do is admit what I did and ask for forgiveness. Krauss sat down. Your witness. Rebecca stood, approached Travis like she was approaching a bomb. Mr. Mercer, you said you hit your wife because you were frustrated. Is that correct? Yes. How many times? I don't know. A lot. Dozens? Hundreds? I don't know. You don't remember how many times you beat your wife? It's not like I kept count. But you remember you did it. Yes. And you remember why? Because you were frustrated. Yes. So when you broke her fingers, that was frustration. Yes. When you dislocated her shoulder, that was frustration? Yes. When you burned her hand on the stove, that was frustration? Travis's jaw worked. Yes. And when you strangled her in the bathroom until she passed out, was that frustration too? You didn't what? Strangle her? Because the medical records show bruising consistent with strangulation. I might have grabbed her throat. I don't remember. You don't remember. How convenient. You remember hitting her when you were frustrated. But you don't remember strangling her. Why is that? I was drunk a lot. Things are blurry. Were you drunk when you violated the restraining order? Yes. Were you drunk when you sent your friend to kidnap her from Mr. Cross's property? I didn't send anyone. Your friend Greg says otherwise. He says you paid him to bring her back. He's lying. Is he? Or are you? Objection, Kraus said. Asked and answered. Sustained. Rebecca changed direction. You said you wanted forgiveness. Have you apologized to your wife? I tried. She won't talk to me. Have you written her a letter? No. Sent a message through your lawyer? No. So when you say you want forgiveness, what you really mean is you want her to come back so you can control her again. Isn't that right? No. You said you loved her more than anything, but you beat her, strangled her, burned her, isolated her from her family, controlled her money, monitored her phone, threatened to kill her if she left. That's not love, Mr. Mercer. That's ownership. I loved her. Did you? Or did you just love having someone you could hurt whenever you felt like it? Objection! Kraus was on his feet, badgering the witness. Sustained. Ms. Marsh, dial it back. Rebecca took a breath. Mr. Mercer, do you think you deserve to go to prison? Travis looked at the jury, at the judge, at Nora. I don't know, he said quietly. Maybe. But prison won't fix what I broke. Won't give her back the years I took. Nothing will. You're right, nothing will. No further questions. Closing arguments came the next day. Kraus went first. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a complicated case. My client made mistakes, terrible mistakes. He admits that. But mistakes aren't the same as crimes. What you've heard over the past week is a narrative carefully constructed by Ms. Halstead and Mr. Cross to paint my client as a monster. But the truth is more nuanced. My client loved his wife. He made her life difficult sometimes. He hurt her. He regrets that. But attempted murder? Conspiracy? These are charges designed to destroy him, not to seek justice. I ask you to consider the evidence carefully, to separate emotion from fact, and to remember that punishment should fit the crime. Thank you. Rebecca stood for the prosecution. The defense wants you to believe this is complicated. It's not. Travis Mercer beat his wife for 5 years. He isolated her, controlled her, threatened her. And when she finally escaped, he hunted her, violated a restraining order, attempted to kill her. You heard the recording. His own words, his own admission. This isn't complicated. This is a man who views women as property, who believes violence is an acceptable response to frustration, who will do it again if given the chance. Your verdict today determines whether he gets that chance, whether the next woman he hurts survives, whether violence wins or justice does. Thank you. But the jury deliberated for 9 hours. Nora waited in a room with Rebecca and Dante. Didn't speak, didn't eat, just stared at the wall and tried to breathe. When the bailiff finally came to get them, her heart stopped. They filed back into the courtroom. The jury entered. Nobody looked at Travis. That was either a very good sign or a very bad one. Has the jury reached a verdict? Judge Henshaw asked. The foreman stood. We have, Your Honor. On the charge of attempted murder, how do you find? Guilty. The word hit like thunder. On the charge of aggravated assault? Guilty. On the charge of domestic violence? Guilty. On the charge of violation of a restraining order? Guilty. 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 Every charge. Travis didn't react, just sat there staring at his hands. Nora felt tears on her face, didn't remember starting to cry. Dante's hand found her shoulder, squeezed. Judge Henshaw banged her gavel. Sentencing will be in 2 weeks. Mr. Mercer, you're remanded to custody pending sentencing. Bailiff. They led Travis away. He didn't look back. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed. Questions flew like bullets. Rebecca handled them. Nora just walked, kept walking until she reached Dante's car. She got in, closed the door, and finally let herself breathe. 2 weeks later, Travis was sentenced to 40 years in prison. No possibility of parole for 30. By the time he got out, if he got out, Nora would be 63. Travis would be 70-something. Different people, different lives, if they survived that long. Nora didn't attend the sentencing, didn't need to. Just read the verdict in the paper the next morning over coffee and toast. 40 years. She set down the paper and looked around her apartment. Small, simple, hers. She'd been living there for 8 months now, working part-time at a bookstore, baking bread for a local farmer's market on weekends, attending therapy twice a week, building a life. The phone rang. She checked the caller ID, Teresa Blake. They'd been talking once a week since the trial ended. Teresa had recovered from her injuries. Her daughter was with her again, safe. They were living in a different state under different names. Starting over. "Did you see?" Teresa asked when Nora answered. "Yeah, I saw. 40 years. 40 years. Does it feel real?" Nora thought about that. "No, not yet. Maybe it never will. I keep waiting to feel relieved or happy or something, but mostly I just feel tired." "That's normal. Justice doesn't erase what happened, just closes the door on it." "Yeah." Teresa was quiet for a moment. "Thank you for testifying, for fighting, for showing me it was possible. You would have done it without me." "I don't know. Maybe. But it helped knowing someone else had survived him." They talked for a few more minutes, then said goodbye. Nora hung up, looked at the clock. She was supposed to meet Marcus for lunch in an hour. She got dressed, walked to the restaurant. Marcus was already there, reading something on his phone. "Hey," he said when she sat down. "Hey, you see the sentencing?" "Yeah?" "How do you feel?" "I don't know. Relieved? Scared? Both?" "Scared of what?" "That it's not really over. That he'll get out early. That someone else will come after me. I don't know. My brain won't let me believe I'm actually safe." Marcus reached across the table, took her hand. "You are safe. He's gone. For decades. And even if he gets out someday, you'll be someone he doesn't recognize. Someone he can't touch." "I hope so." They ordered food, ate, talked about normal things. Marcus's job, his new apartment, a woman he'd started seeing. Normal things. Things that would have been impossible a year ago. After lunch, Nora walked to the bookstore where she worked. Small place, independent. The owner, an older woman named Helen, had hired her without asking questions, paid her cash under the table until her paperwork came through. "How'd the sentencing go?" Helen asked when Nora arrived. 40 years. "Good. He deserves more, but I'll take it." Nora smiled. Helen had survived her own hell decades ago. Never talked about it. But Nora could see the scars, the way she flinched at loud noises, the way she never let men stand behind her. Survivors recognized each other. The afternoon passed quietly, a few customers, some restocking. Nora spent most of her time in the back room cataloging new inventory. Around 4, Dante walked in. She hadn't seen him in weeks. He'd been traveling, helping other women, building the network. "Hey," he said. "Hey, what are you doing here?" "Wanted to see how you were doing after the sentencing." "I'm okay. Weird, but okay." He nodded. "I get that." They stood there awkwardly for a moment. Then Dante handed her an envelope. "What's this?" "A job offer, if you want it." Nora opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. Formal. Professional. Offering her a position coordinating victim services for Dante's network. Salary. Benefits. The works. "You want me to work for you?" she asked. "With me, not for me. You're good at this. Helping people. You've got 11 successful extractions in 6 months. That's better than most of my trained coordinators." "I don't know. I like working here. You can do both. This would be part-time, remote mostly, just coordinating calls, guiding women through the process, sharing your story when it helps." Nora looked at the letter, at the salary, at the title. Victim Services Coordinator. "Can I think about it?" "Take all the time you need." He turned to leave. "Dante." He stopped. "Thank you. For everything. For saving my life. For believing me. For helping me fight." "You saved yourself, Nora. I just answered the phone." After he left, Nora read the letter again. then put it in her bag. She'd think about it. But deep down, she already knew her answer. That night, she went home and baked bread, set the loaf on the counter to cool, then called the number on Dante's business card. He answered on the second ring. "Yeah, I'll take the job. When do I start?" She heard him smile. "Tomorrow. If you're ready." "I'm ready." 3 months later, Nora sat in her apartment coordinating a rescue. A woman named Melissa, trapped in Ohio. Husband was a cop. Made escape nearly impossible, but not completely impossible. Nora talked her through it. Where to hide money, where to stash documents, how to disable GPS on her phone, when to run. "I'm scared," Melissa whispered. "I know. I was scared too, but you're braver than you think, and you're not alone." "What if he finds me? Then we move you again, and again, as many times as it takes. What if I can't do this?" "You already are. You called. That's the hardest part." They talked for an hour, made a plan, set a date. When Nora hung up, she felt the weight of it. Another life in her hands, another woman trusting her to get it right. But she also felt something else. Purpose. She pulled out her mother's cookbook, found the recipe for bread, started gathering ingredients. As she kneaded the dough, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She almost deleted it, then saw the message. "I'm out. I know where you are. We're not done." Her blood turned to ice. Travis. But that was impossible. He'd been sentenced to 40 years, no parole for 30. Unless he'd escaped, unless someone had helped him, unless... Her phone rang. Dante. "You get a text?" he asked. "Yeah, how did you..." 4 other women in the network got the same one. "It's not Travis. He's still in prison." I checked. Someone's fucking with us. Trying to scare victims into hiding. It's working. I know, but here's the thing. Whoever sent it used a burner app, traced it to a computer in Travis's lawyer's office. Kraus? Yeah. He's still trying to intimidate witnesses. Probably thinks if he scares enough women, they'll recant their testimony. Give him grounds for an appeal. Can he do that? He can try. Won't work. But he can make our lives miserable trying. Nora set down the dough. So what do? We report it. Get him disbarred. And we keep doing what we're doing. We don't let him win. Okay. You okay? Nora looked at the bread dough. At her mother's cookbook. At the apartment she'd built from nothing. Yeah, she said. I'm okay. She hung up, deleted the text, went back to kneading dough. Let Kraus try. Let Travis rot in prison. Let the whole world try to drag her back into fear. She wasn't that woman anymore. She'd survived. And survival was just another word for winning. Months turned into years. Nora kept working with Dante's network, kept coordinating rescues, kept answering phones at 3 a.m. when frightened women called asking if help was real. She saved 43 women in 2 years, each one a small victory against Travis, against every man like him. She also started speaking at shelters, at universities, at conferences on domestic violence, telling her story. Not because she wanted sympathy, but because other women needed to know survival was possible. On the 3rd anniversary of her escape, she got a letter. Prison stationery. Travis's handwriting. She almost threw it away, then opened it. Nora, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I understand, but I need to say some things. I was wrong. About everything. The way I treated you, the way I justified it, the way I convinced myself I was helping when I was destroying. I'm in therapy now. Court mandated, but I'm actually trying. Learning about my anger, my need for control, the damage I did. I don't expect forgiveness, don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know I'm sorry. For real this time. Not because I want something from you, just because you deserve to hear it. I hope you're safe. I hope you're happy. I hope you've built the life I never let you have. I'm sorry, Travis. Nora read it twice, then set it aside. An apology. 3 years too late, maybe sincere, maybe another manipulation. She'd never know. And it didn't matter, because forgiveness wasn't something she owed him. It was something she gave herself. Every day. Every time she chose to keep living instead of letting the past crush her. She picked up the letter, walked to the kitchen, turned on the stove. held the letter over the flame until it caught, watched it burn. Then she washed her hands, pulled out her mother's cookbook, started making bread. The dough rose, the oven heated, the apartment filled with the smell of home. When the bread came out perfect and golden, Nora cut a slice, spread butter on it, took a bite. It tasted like victory. Small, simple, hers. 5 years after the night she'd crawled across a blood-slick bathroom floor, Nora stood in her kitchen and realized something that made her chest tighten and her eyes burn. She was happy. Not the loud kind of happy that came with fireworks and celebration, the quiet kind. The kind that lived in ordinary moments, in bread rising, in phone calls with Teresa, in helping other women find their way out of the dark. Travis had taken 5 years, but he hadn't taken everything. She'd reclaimed herself, piece by piece, day by day. And that was enough. More than enough. Outside, the city stretched into evening, lights coming on, people heading home, the world turning like it always did. Nora finished her bread, washed the dishes, sat down at her desk. Her phone rang. The emergency line. She answered. "This is Nora." A woman's voice, shaking, desperate. "I need help. My husband, he's going to kill me. I don't know what to do." Nora grabbed a pen, pulled out a notebook. "I'm here," she said. "Tell me where you are." And as the woman talked, as Nora wrote down details and formulated a plan and became the voice on the other end of the phone that said, "Yes, help is real. Yes, you can escape. Yes, you will survive." She felt it again. Purpose. The thing that made all the pain and fear and darkness worth surviving. She talked the woman through the first steps, set up a time to call back, hung up. Then she opened her mother's cookbook to a random page, a recipe for apple pie, her mother's handwriting. Notes in the margins about reducing sugar, adding cinnamon, letting it cool before cutting. Nora traced the words with her finger, felt the weight of everything that had brought her here. Then she closed the cookbook, stood, looked out the window at the city below. Somewhere out there, women were trapped, hiding bruises, swallowing screams, waiting for someone to tell them there was a way out. Nora had been that woman. Now she was the answer, and tomorrow she'd do it again. And the day after, and the day after that, for as long as it took, for as many women as needed her. Because survival wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning. She turned off the lights, locked the door, went to bed. And for the first time in years, she slept without nightmares. Just dreams. Simple. Ordinary. Beautiful dreams. Of bread rising in a warm kitchen, of a phone ringing with someone asking for help, of a voice answering calm and certain, saying the words that changed everything. "I'm here. Tell me where you are." And in the morning, when the sun came up and the city woke and the phone rang again, Nora would be ready. Because that's what survivors did. They kept going. They kept fighting. They kept answering the phone. One call at a time, one life at a time, one loaf of bread at a time, until the darkness became light, until fear became strength, until survival became living. And that, finally, impossibly, beautifully, was enough.